I was here yesterday, only today I have changed my attire to look a little different than how I did yesterday. This session is a very serious and business oriented session. Generally, this session is conducted by the batch coordinator, but somehow I just came here. There are two major parts. One is the presentation from the institute side, the speech from the institute side, and the other is interacting with our invited senior faculty who have been kind enough to join this event. We have been able to get two deans this morning who would like to share something about the institute, and then of course would seek your opinion. First is Professor Neeraj Mishra, Dean of Academic Affairs. Followed by him would be Professor V.V. Fani, the Dean of Resources and Alumni. So, and after this first part is over, then the second part we have two professors here, Professor Amit Ray and Professor Vijay Gupta. Coincidentally, Professor Vijay Gupta had also been the Dean of Academic Affairs in 90s. So you have a kind of very rich people around us to talk about aspects of academics as well as other things. I do understand that the batch is quite concerned, and I think they listened to the director. It was like very hard for him yesterday, and they seem to be quite moved and motivated. We would like to go very slowly and take your real inputs. It might be a little bit of important turning point in the life cycle of the institute, and your sort of presence here and your contribution are very much solicited, and I think they are bound to prove very helpful. So first I'll request Professor Neeraj Mishra. I think Professor Fani is on his way. Professor Neeraj Mishra, the Dean of Academic Affairs, to tell you the current status of academic management of the institute.
Thanks, Professor Kapasankar. I welcome you all to Kanpur. I am Neeraj Mishra. I am the Dean of Academic Affairs currently. Let me first explain you about the academic structure of IIT Kanpur. Many of you may be already aware of the academic structure at IIT Kanpur. If you look at the highest decision-making body as far as academics is concerned, it is the Senate of IIT Kanpur. So all the academic policies are framed mainly by the academic senate. Certainly it's a big institute, so Senate alone cannot manage all the affairs. So Senate works through its various standing committees. And I'm sure you may be aware of those standing committees. Does anyone of you remember even one standing committee of Senate? Possibly no. But one name you may be aware of. A name which was very common, DP. Are you aware of DP? So DP was kind of a students who were put on disciplinary probation. So that is also handled by one of the standing committees of the Senate. If you try to recall, it was called SSEC. Now, if you look at possibly when newer students, the student strength was just 3,000, hardly 3,000 possibly. Today, we stand at roughly 6,500. And possibly when you were a student, it was mostly UG-dominated institute. Now today it is almost 50-50%. So we have 50% UG population, which comes to around, to be precise, it's about 3,261 UG population. And about 3,173 is the PG population. When I talk about UG population, it is basically the BTech students, the MSc integrated students, and the BS students. Recently we started a program called BS program. Now since the last ARC, which is called the Academic Review Committee, academic structure has changed a little bit at IIT Kanpur. For example, when you were a student, the science stream through JEE was through MSc integrated program. Now all the students in the undergraduate program at IIT Kanpur are admitted only to a 4-year program. So it is a 4-year BTech. The corresponding thing for sciences is the 4-year BS program. So the MSc integrated no longer exists as the entry point to IIT Kanpur. It is the 4-year BS program. Now apart from 4-year BTech and 4-year BS programs, we have various flexible hybrid programs. So for example, a student can take admission in a BS or a BTech program and he can earn a master's degree by spending 1 year extra. So all kind of hybrid programs like this. For example, you may take an admission in 4-year BS program in mathematics and scientific computing, and by spending 1 year extra, you may earn a MTech degree, let us say in material science. So all kind of possible combinations are possible. You can do a material science BTech, and you can earn MBA degree by just spending 1 year extra. So all kind of possible combinations exist. Now within these dual degree programs, there are, as I said, there are basically three kinds of dual degree programs. One is that you earn bachelor's degree in the department and earn the master's degree in the same program. So for example, it could be BTech computer science as well as MTech computer science in 5 years. The second thing is you earn a bachelor's degree in a program in a department A, but master's degree in department B. So various such combinations exist. The third kind of program is where you earn a bachelor's degree in one of the engineering or science program, and you earn an MBA degree. This was not possibly the case when you were the students over here. Now in terms of departments, we currently have 15 departments, and let me just tell you about the changes which have taken place since we left. Possibly when you were the student, you had a department called META, right? If you recall META branch, so it was metallurgical engineering. Right. So the name of the department has changed to Material Science and Engineering. It's called MSc now. Then we have come up with two new departments. One department is Biological Sciences and Bioengineering. And we have a 4-year BTech program now in Biological Sciences and Bioengineering. Then another department, which earlier used to be a part of Civil Engineering department, now we have a department of Earth Sciences. And from 2016 onwards, we'll be having a 4-year BS program in Earth Sciences as well. Now, apart from these 15 departments, which are 9 in engineering, 1 is HSS, 4 in sciences, and 1 in management, we have 5 interdisciplinary programs, which are environmental engineering and management, photonic science and engineering, a design program, material science program, and nuclear engineering and technology. Now then we started a few new programs. One such program I told you about, BTech, 4-year BTech program in biological sciences and bioengineering, which is called 4-year BTech program in BSPE. From next year onwards, we'll be starting a 4-year program in Earth Sciences. We have started one program, 4-year BS program in economics. Now, this program is turning out to be a very popular program, 4-year BS program. And you will believe, if you look at the opening and closing ranks of this program, they are more competitive than many engineering branches. The same way, you see a now changed trend that many students are opting for mathematics. If you look at the opening and closing ranks of last year, the mathematics was as competitive as mechanical engineering. And possibly when you were the students, mathematics was a branch which possibly the people who were in the lower end, they would opt for mathematics and science. Of course, there would be some outliers. There would be some outliers. Right. So there would be some outliers who would opt for mathematics and physics. But this time, for example, mathematics opened at 600 and closed at 1000. So, which is very amazing. And possibly this has to do with a lot of jobs available in analytics and finance. Now then we also started a program apart from MTech. This program is called MS by Research. The idea of this program was, because if you have any technical institute, it's very important that you have a good project staff. But the question is how to attract good project staff. Unless a person sees that there are future avenues for his professional growth, possibly either they will not come, or even if they come, they will not stick to the place. So keeping in that mind, this MS by Research program was started. It is mainly for students who are sponsored either through an industry or through a project. Now let me come to the few changes which have taken place since we left. When you were the student, possibly A, B, C, D, and F were the grades, right? Two new grades have come in. One is the A-star grade. A-star grade has the same weightage as A grade, but it goes into your grade sheet and it goes with an outstanding grade. But the weightage is same, 10. So if you get all A-star, your CPI would still be 10. But it goes into your grade sheet that, okay, this person was extraordinary.
Do you use star questions for A?
See, that depends on the instructor.
We are so used to it.
Now then, if you recall, when you were a student, you will not be able to take many follow-up courses because either you flunked in a course which was a prerequisite, or you got an F grade. So now a new grade has been introduced which is called E grade. E grade has the same weightage as F grade. But the advantage is you can take this, if you have an E grade, your prerequisite is waived. So you can take the follow-up.
Very F-star grade.
Another new feature is about the distinction. A student who settles a CPI of 8.5 or more, he passes out with a distinction which goes into his grades. Now these, especially the undergraduate programs. See, I'm mainly talking about undergraduate program because I see most of you give your undergraduate over here. But certainly I'll touch upon a few of them. MS by Research, for example, or the postgraduate program. Now, technically speaking, now it is possible to finish your BTech in 3.5 years. Because now we have moved to a total credit-based system. So it is possible that you can finish your whole program in 3.5 years. In fact, this semester, there was a student who could finish his master's program in 4.5 years. So he'll be getting a degree of master's in 4.5 years. Now, in terms of various components of undergraduate programs, it is still very flexible program, the way it was when you were the student. I don't know how many of you recall how much percentage was given to your core courses. Core courses means the core departmental courses. Does anyone remember?
2 years.
No, I'm saying talk about percentage of the total. 60%. Yeah, so it stands at 35% even now. So where 25% is your core departmental courses and 10% is the departmental elective. So if you look at the compulsory departmental component, it is only 25%. The rest 10% is through your departmental electives, and rest 65%, basically you can choose it from, of course there are various components, there will be various compartments, for example 10% weightage is to all the HSS courses.
So how many engineering sciences courses are there? We had 7.
You see, now everything is in terms of a grade. So roughly your 4-year program, you have to, on an average, it varies from department to department, but on average you have to earn 400 credits. Right? So 10%, so 40 credits would be to the HSS. which amounts to between 4 to 5 courses in HSS. Then 20% is sciences. 20% sciences, so roughly 80, so 9 to 10 courses in sciences, which include your science electives. We now call them as SO, science options. Then 5% is to usual TA courses. Then 5% to management, physical education. And open elective is 15%. The 15% you can take anywhere across the institute. So this was a brief introduction of the academic structure of IIT Kanpur. Let me talk about a few of the things which we have planned to do in the future.
Is this new structure the same across all IITs?
No. You see, each IIT has its own senate, so its own academic structure will be different. It varies from institute to institute. But I can say with a lot of confidence, IIT Kanpur's academic structure is possibly the most flexible of it.
So, one other question. Since you're saying that now the population of undergrads to postgrads is about 50-50, can you talk a little bit about your post-graduation program? Because when we want to think about the institute in a comprehensive manner, it's a question of what type of research, what type of university it's attracting, which is...
Yeah, so when we talk about, let me first come to the various programs. So I talked about various hybrid programs. So the MTech part of that hybrid program is considered as a postgraduate program. Right? So there is a possibility that you enter into an undergraduate program. After 3.5 years, you migrate to a postgraduate part of the program. So that would be considered as a postgraduate part. So there is one postgraduate component which comes through these dual degree programs. BTech, MTech, BS MTech, BSMS, and so on. Then we have standalone MTech programs. Admissions to these programs are through interviews or through your performance in examination which is called GATE, which possibly existed even when you were a student. Then we have MSc 2-year program. MSc 2-year program exists in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. And intake is roughly 50 students in each of these disciplines every year. Admissions to these programs is through, again, an all India level examination which is called Joint Admission Test to MSc. Then, of course, MSc integrated program would phase out. We have some students left from the earlier batches. Then we have a program which is called MSc PhD dual degree program. This program exists only in the physics discipline. So a student is admitted to a 2-year MSc program, but then he can earn a PhD degree. Then we have a Master of Design program, MBA program, and PhD program in all 15 departments as well as 5 interdisciplinary. So basically, PhD program in roughly 20 disciplines. Do you have any specific question? I can.
Just how many PhDs are we producing every year? Or?
So last time I can say that on an average we are producing roughly around 125 PhDs every year. So if you look at the last year's data, it was 132 or so.
How many enrollments?
How many?
How many are the current enrollments?
Current enrollment is about 1,500. Just PhD alone. Just PhD alone. Yeah, so now I come to a point where you can have, any questions?
So, what's the average duration for the PhD program? I mean, is it like, you just shared the numbers, so 10% of 1,500 is what is coming out every year, right?
Yeah.
So is it like it's taking 10 years to finish PhD, or?
No, so yeah, average time across the institute is roughly 5 years. But then there are outliers.
Sure.
There are some students, very small in number, who have spent 9 years also. Right, but average time is, mostly it takes 4 years. Average time would be somewhere around 5 years. But then there are some outliers, especially in some departments, people generally take longer. For example, physics normally it takes longer.
What's the most sought after department now? Is it computer science and
In
sort of all
undergraduate?
you attract is that?
Yeah, undergraduate IIT Kanpur, as far as IIT Kanpur is concerned, it is still the computer science. Now, some of you must have read about for example, that possibly when your students, all first 35 ranks or first 50 ranks will come to IIT Kanpur. That scenario has changed. Now it is a cycle. What happens is first IIT Bombay gets filled. So that will be roughly 50 seats, let's say 55 seats. So first 55 you will not find in any other IIT, except for one or two outlets. Then comes IIT Delhi. So next slot of 55 ranks would go to IIT Delhi. So they all go in bunch. It's not that people are choosing between and out of first 55, 30 are going to IIT Bombay also. They go, yeah.
So do we know what's the reason? I mean, have we identified?
So what happens? Bombay, Delhi, and
Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, and then comes the Kanpur. So you can imagine when Kanpur would start.
What will it start?
Yeah, so I said roughly around 55, I can tell you the exact figures. So for example, CSE, this 73 was an outlier. That's it. Right. But started at 73, most of them would be beyond 100, and it closed at 207. So you can imagine, roughly around 55 multiplied by 3, 165, and then that is where the IIT Kanpur starts, and the block ends somewhere beyond 200.
Just one question. What is the total intake of students in JEE?
IIT Kanpur?
Across India. It used to be 2,000 in our time.
Now it is much higher, more than 8,000, roughly 8,000.
Roughly 8,000.
But IIT Kanpur is
827. Yeah, so CSE, somebody asked which are the most sought after departments. CSE certainly is the most sought after. Then again electrical engineering comes, and you can guess where electrical engineering would start. I told you the trend, how it works. So electrical engineering starts at 208. And ends at 674. It ends at 674. So what you see normally, there is a bunch of students in each discipline that go to IIT, certain IIT. After computer science gets over, that cycle would repeat for electrical engineering or electronics and so on. And it will go on.
So what is the last slide of JEE when it comes to IIT?
IIT 5942. 5,942. That is basically a chemistry. Chemistry normally.
That's an outlier.
So chemistry normally would be bunched around that.
So if the batch size has gone up to 87, does it mean we have more departments or we have more students per
More students, because you see what happened is around 2007 when this reservation for OBC came, in one go 27% seats were.
So that is the Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, and repeating for all the...
Yeah, for most of the branches, except for example, as I said, you see, I am from mathematics, so I'm sort of biased to mathematics. Bombay mathematics doesn't exist. 5-year program, 4-year program doesn't exist.
Do you find that you attract less of sort of the raw talent that we were accustomed to in the batch of 1987, speaking for a few people, and more sort of cookie cutter people who have gone through quota and so forth, and does that impact how you deal with the students?
I don't think that has to do anything with the JEE ranks which we are getting. JEE rank, this is my, you see, I have not done any study, so I cannot argue very forcefully about what I'm saying. But my interpretation is it has to do mostly with the placement. Many of the sought after companies don't even come to Kanpur. A reason for that is a very simple reason. Because their higher level, the last stage interviews are conducted by somebody in top, right? I don't know, they use certain term for them. And they don't have a time to come to Kanpur.
So that's not true.
So that is what I've been, that is sought after companies.
No, I mean, I work in Amazon and we have a very active campus recruiting team. And, they go to as remote places as West Karani, and, and that's what I was asking a question that, have you guys done some study that says that these are top 3 to 5 reasons because of which IIT is not able to attract the students. Have you done some survey of the students? Why are they not choosing IIT?
Yeah, so I'll tell you some of the reasons. One of the reasons which is given by the students is this, that some of the top companies are not coming to Kanpur. I'll give you an example. 2 years or 3 years back, BCG, right? Boston Consultancy Group, it had all rounds of interviews and tests. When it came to the final interview, they said, no, you have to come to Kanpur, you have to come to Delhi. Now what happens is, our placement starts on 1st December. Now a student just cannot rely on BCG and leave all other options by going to Delhi on 1st of December. Right? So this is one of the factors. I'm not saying that this is something a hearsay. I've not done a very serious study on it, but that is one of the. The second hearsay is, which again we learn from the students, that there is a general perception that academics in IIT Kanpur is difficult. So that is a. But what I'm saying is, possibly this is where we have to do some work and have to let others know that this is not the fact. The fact is, if you look at the A and B grades in IIT Kanpur undergraduate, I have a data with me. So 52% of the students get A and B. Yeah. So you can imagine. You can imagine.
Questions which are now coming, I would like that our deans on, in fact, the previous dean are also request to join in a sense that these questions I think cannot be based on something here 1 or 2 years later. These are very serious questions, very deep questions, and I don't mind saying that I don't have the answer even to that extent. So I would like to engage the seriousness of this question, at least why such kind of things are happening. So I request that we have the other.
But let me just finish the third point.
Sorry.
Let me finish the third point. So I told you the 2 points. And the third point is, which is again hearsay. A general perception is IIT Kanpur is still very conservative in terms of extracurricular activities for students. So for example, when they compare with Mood Indigo in IIT Bombay, which has budget of more than crores, IIT Kanpur still is a little bit conservative in giving some amount of cap as far as cultural factors. So this is again general perception which exists possibly.
I think we'll continue with this.
Yeah.
Please
Speak up.
Sorry?
Just
Yeah.
an observation before you go.
Yeah.
We heard from the director yesterday about the problems with the campus, right? And there's some more examples here. My concern is that a lot of this is hearsay, whereas at this point of time, given the decline has happened over a period of time, it's never a decline in 1 year. It's always a gradual decline. So the question that I would ask is, does the current management team or leadership team have a point of view on here is the 5 reasons why this has happened?
Okay.
And here is the 5 ways in which we correct it.
Right. As far as I know, first of all, let me tell you my coordinates. I'm more like as a secretary of the my association at the moment, but I am also faculty at IIT Kanpur. The Senate of IIT Kanpur has appointed a committee that sometimes we have resort to exactly examine the reasons and perhaps trying to find out what should be the actions that we should be taking to revert the situation. While I think Mr. Dheeraj Mishra has has given a lot of accounts about the statistics on various aspects of the academic, I would like to only add that perhaps once when we were here, we passed out in 91. Since then, one more remarkable thing has happened, that the number of female students in the institute has increased considerably. Right now, it stands at the total percentage of nearly 14%. So altogether, you have 850 female students, and there are 3 girls' hostels, which are now going to be ready, or are ready to accommodate this number. So this is another, I think which has happened. And I think we are here assembled for a very, I think, focused purpose, and the purpose is emerging by itself. As you very rightly said, that things have been happening. The same trend has been there for not 1 or 2 years, but for quite long. And now we cannot afford to say that this is this, this is that, and we have to come up with some kind of explainable reason.
Sir,
I just,
follow-up question.
Yes.
just a follow-up point to Manish. Manish raised a very important point that, I mean, just a point that the matter which is concerning is, when Professor Mishra says that, it is still hearsay. So if this is a declining trend over years, why is not an urgent, action or study undertaken to find actually what's the real reason, what are the top 5 reasons? So the concern is about the approach of the institute in trying to dive into it and do a root cause analysis and then figure out, what is to be done.
Sure. I fully appreciate this, and as a matter of fact, this was not any kind of thing which is happening. Monday, the 28th, I am requesting the director who will be here, and again there will be a round of meeting, and at that time I will request that not so many perhaps, but at least half a dozen of you who feel that you would like to discuss this issue further. But I'm not saying that the question that you raised, I'm not answering that question. I'm going one step ahead, that in order to understand the action of the institute and participate in the action of the institute, I think can just spare half an hour on Monday, at least half a dozen of you, and just get involved, get indulged into the process.
Absolutely, I have just one more observation.
But I'm not the one who is going to give you the list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's a typically, because most of us have been working in different corporates.
Sure.
One of the reasons why, one corporate succeeds and other doesn't is the speed. I mean, you have to be really, really nimble to it. So, the sense which I'm getting, okay, and maybe, I hope I'm wrong, that somewhere the approach, the institution, the whole machinery seems to be fairly slow, in terms of responding. That's just a sense.
There can't be a disagreement to any of the reasons like this. The reason is that since things have not reverted, so any reason which can say that they have not acted fastly, they have not acted correctly, they have not acted this one, every reason is a valid reason because the results show like this. But LCM or the MCF of all these reasons have to be worked out, and since that is the point where the director, while leaving, he said that he would like to talk to the group again. Perhaps he thought that there are people who are very sensitive about this particular issue. So kindly, I think as a batch coordinator, I will request you to have a small meeting with the director, which is conveniently possible.
I mean, we do it on Monday, maybe half an hour.
Yeah. So you let us see who are available at that time. And it doesn't really matter. You will get some time to work on this issue today. So the idea that kind of feelings of the batch can be conveyed to a smaller group of people. Not that everyone has to be there. I realize that. But coming to the issue, let us look at some other issues as well. The next is Professor V.B. Funny. He is the Dean of Resources and Alumni. And the director said yesterday that his position is like a bridge between the institute and the alumni. And he is also resources. Resources is not only the money part, I guess, it's resources under course. And Professor Funny is a fellow from Calcutta. He has a lot of experience. He has been the CEO of companies in the past, and he has joined the Department of Industrial Management Engineering, and of course the Professor of Finance.
Thank you. I would like to just initially brief what is being done and what is not being done and what is our perception. For the last few years, there is a lot of information which is being provided, which actually gives way to a lot of questions regarding the ability of the institute as an organization to react or to proactively approach these things. The one point which I would like to mention here is the institute is not separate from you. We are all in it together. There is no way we can say or disengage, saying that you guys are there and we guys are here and because of you we are having these kinds of problems. This is not an approach which the Dean of Resources, this office is, because it cannot do it on its own. There is no way it can do it. Whatever would be the problems, whatever would be the possible solutions, including the top 100 guys in the top 100 ranks coming to IIT Kanpur, placement, the perception about the people, everything, the funding, the infrastructure, the resources, the student interaction, the engagement. This cannot be done individually by the institute with its current resources, nor can it do with its current organizational setup or administrative setup. What I believe essentially is that we are an ecosystem. That is an IIT Kanpur ecosystem. Whatever you do outside the system, whatever you achieve, whatever any one of you achieve in the outside world once you pass out, versus whatever we has a bearing on what IIT Kanpur is, and also what we achieve within the institute with our students or with our faculty and research output also impinges on your career growth or career chart. And whenever yesterday Tarun was saying that every time he goes, they say you are from IIT Kanpur, right? It is IIT Kanpur which makes the difference. So whatever we do also has a strong bearing on how you are perceived in the outside world. So what I believe essentially is a continuous engagement and what you call as an ecosystem approach to this whole problem. I have 32,000 ambassadors and I am unable to leverage them. That is a problem with the system, with IIT. Maybe, or maybe it is not that all of us feel that we should go about it together. So in this whole approach of, if you look at placements for instance, if you look at the top 100 guys coming here, if you look at infrastructure development, if you look at the resources which are needed, there is a whole set of engagement which is possible. It is not mainly money in that sense. Suppose I am saying that if you are batch, there is quite a bit of engagement with the alumni in this case. There are certain batches which have come up with their own ways of engaging on a continuous basis with IIT Kanpur. There are some batches which have not come through. So across the batches there is a lot of difference. But we have some few 4 or 5 batches which actually engage with us on a continuous basis, whatever form they have. And some batches which are not. But if we can actually get all of us, it is mostly what is being felt over the few years which we have, over the last few years, as you rightly said, there have been studies made. There have been a very serious studies made because there is always this concern because out of the 350 or 400 faculty we have, 150 are our alumnus within the system. And they are definitely concerned. It's not the non-alumnus. Non-alumnus are always concerned. But the alumnus are much more concerned because they have an ownership of this place and they regularly, we have a feedback, regularly we keep connecting with these people and talking. So one point which had come out essentially because we had a review of the institute, I think about a year back, the director would be more in and we have collected the data, we have presented the data, and there is an external review which has happened 2 years back, wherein there is a whole set of department-wise reviews on curriculum, on placements, on research, on everything, and comparison across IITs in that sense. Okay, and then we also had an institute-wide one with a totally external set of people who had come and approached us. And we found that as far as this academic side is concerned, we are no way, less than any other IIT, if not more, including IIT, with the current faculty. This we can have, we have the statistics, don't forget about the rankings which you see, but internally when we look at the statistics like, faculty, what they produce as research, the amount of impact it has, the amount of, some cases where we might lose out maybe is placement, yeah, to some extent. And but academically we are no way less than any other IIT in that sense. So that part of the whole thing is good for us. The discussion which has happened over the last 4 or 5 years are centered around that maybe we are not in essence, projecting ourselves, because this is now a media world, right? I mean, unless can't sit in Kanpur and say, okay, we are great, but everybody else also has to perceive that we are great. So that sharing of the information, the collation of the information, the projection of the institute per se has to be done in some sense. That is now being seriously taken up. And in that, we always need the whole alumni batches to work with us in this case. Okay? This is one. The networking benefit of the alumni in terms of generating more placements, more internships, so that the overall this thing is that we have more and more opportunities available for students here. Okay? So that is one level of engagement which could happen. Then again on the resources component, if I can use the network, all of you are maybe in the top leadership of your organization, most of you, many of you, right? And then it's not about that there is a huge amount of resources the government says has to be spent on corporate social responsibility, and that is part of IIT is part of that. That is, any money given to IIT in terms of R&D and other things is essentially a CSR activity. Not only that, on entrepreneurship also it is a CSR activity. So we can always leverage that strength in the overall ecosystem. We can use our corporate network. And then of course funding is always there. Fourth, what we are also right now, okay, I have taken this over as a dean about 6 months back. So, and earlier I was with the innovation ecosystem in IIT Kanpur. We built it up from a 10,000 square feet, okay, this thing to a 1 lakh square feet ecosystem, which is very vibrant. We have good exits, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and all that, and that's expanding like anything. I have taken this over in June, and after that we have worked towards linking, connecting, networking, even the social media, leveraging the social media, everything, into clearing our databases, connecting with the alumni in this. What I feel is that we have divided this whole engagement of alumni and the institute into 3 domains, essentially, from our side. This is what we have done over a period, this is a study we have done, and we feel that this engagement would help our institute reach the spot where it has. People say that, okay, it's a location advantage because people go to Bombay because it's in Bombay, and people go to Delhi because it's in Delhi. But Kanpur was in Kanpur last 50 years, so it has not gone anywhere. So then there were people coming here, and now you cannot just say that because we are in Kanpur, people are not going to come. We have to showcase, we have to project, we have to say. But be rest assured that on the quality parameter in terms of research output or in terms of academic rigor, in terms of this thing, we are nowhere behind. And this, you take it from me. Okay, there is nowhere. I can show you all the metrics, all the statistics, which can clearly comparable across all IITs. Okay, so this we have, because I collected the data for the director's presentation at that point of time for the external review, so I know the stuff. What we have done right now, see, we are very concerned, and as the director had pointed out yesterday, this is why we are sharing this. We are very concerned that there is this perception problem, and because of which it's hurting us, not because we lack quality. So from the alumnus, we would like to have a totally different level of engagement. And each batch, whichever comes in. Now, what we have done over the last 6 months, let me brief you. You can correct me, and if you can also give me some suggestions on this, it will be great. We said that this whole Dean's Office has a different approach of, there is a 3-dimensional approach. I mean, I am from management, so normally I go with this jargon. So it's a 3-dimensional approach. One dimension is where the institute cannot shed its responsibility that after 4 years, we are no longer responsible for our students in their career. So the institute has to provide that kind of support whenever the alumnus needs for the next 20 years of their career path before they stabilize and they go somewhere. So that is one level of engagement from the institute we would like to go ahead. That works both ways because that anyway gives us the next level of engagement. And the second level of engagement is where we are continuously approaching the alumnus in terms of sharing with them what we are facing and regularly receiving their inputs and doing a course correction at any given point. Taking their inputs in terms of if they want to share their experiences, if they want to give more internships, if they want this kind of different level of where IIT Kanpur benefits in that sense. So this is one level of engagement, another dimensional, another approach, and then The third component which we would like to see is we are trying to de-link this whole money, the resources we are again de-linking into tangible and intangible, or in the sense money versus non-money kind of fund-based and non-fund-based kind of approach. And we now feel that the non-fund-based approach is also very critical for us. It's not only the fund part. And we want to de-link this whole resources. The moment you see the deal of resource and development, the moment you see IT control, you shouldn't worry that these guys are come for the money. It's not done. Okay, so this is what we say is, this should be independent of the organization, in that sense that IIT would approach other organizations, because we now have a 60-year reputation, which we cannot leverage with other people outside the system, like the top industry stock, and get the resources from them. Then we are in a sense, we are negligent of that fact. And then we would like to leverage the alumni network to see that we reach those people from where we can get the resources. Now, what are the different levels of resources? What do we need in terms of our students or in terms of our resources? One thing is that we need a huge amount of linkage with the students in terms of their placements, internships. We need research organizations to come and establish research centers or have a strong research linkage with IIT Kanpur, or their in-house R&D, wherever they are having linkage with other organizations or academic institutions. That academic industry, every organization now has this academic industry linkage in terms of R&D, and that R&D should come to us. So that is where we would need the alumni to help us, in that sense. Third thing is, if we can leverage all the CSR responsibility, 2% is very huge amount of money, that we can. Fourth is the infrastructure or support system for the students. Like for instance, if I am looking at, we have students who do some stuff and then they want to present, particularly the UG students. PGs and PhDs normally have their stipend. To some extent, they are financially independent. But the UG students, whenever they want to go for a competition abroad or whenever they want to go for presenting a paper, it is becoming very difficult to fund it, because if we don't do that, then our name is not going to go there. We are not able to actually reach out. That is one part of how we should be able to do this. So for example, other than the internal sports facilities or some other facilities, we have an astronomy club which needs a very little amount of money, but sometimes we are not able to support with our internal resources. Okay? So like that, the students have a whole series of requirements which should be available, including scholarships, which are very minimal right now. The total number of scholarships which we have are about 250, 300 compared to the overall student strength of about 5,000. So this is how these things are. And then we have infrastructural requirements. The government now says, okay guys, you have been there for 60 years and you have produced the world. Look at it, we have an economy. If I am looking at this, we have an economy of, on average, if I am saying that each one of the, on average, 32,000 alumni generate 20 lakhs a year as income. Their income is 20 lakhs, which is very small. The older guys might be earning a lot more, the younger guys would be around 8 to 10, 12, whatever it is. I am just taking a ballpark figure of 20 lakhs and then I am multiplying it with 32,000. Then I have a 6,400 crore economy per year from what has been generated from this place. And you have access to that economy, and we are really working, we are totally dependent on the government for any infrastructural facility. And they say that we will rather put the resources in the newer IITs, you guys better leverage yourself. In a sense, their argument is correct. But we say that you should do it gradually so that we have time enough to leverage it. We don't have faculty seating space. We have a 650 sanctioned strength of faculty. We don't have buildings where they can sit. People are sharing. Hostels, we don't have space. Infrastructure in terms of labs, we don't have. We have a whole set of infrastructural libraries. But I'm just putting the problem in front of me. It's not that it is going to be resolved in a day or it is going to be resolved by one batch. We have a listed projects right now which we have identified and categorized of about 800 crores. We have the list with me. I have the list with me. I have looked at every one of them and all of them have gone through a consultant process. where it has been consultative process and we have arrived at this figure, and then we have categorized under student initiative, student extra initiative, faculty initiative, research initiatives, infrastructural initiatives, and so on and so forth. So we have this whole set of requirement which is available, which we need. We are working towards it. We are hopeful that in the next few years we should be able to somehow manage to get this overall resource requirement. It is not just to put a dampener on where IIT is today. It is just that we need to compete in this current system where we are being compared globally. We need a lot more resources, both tangible and intangible, to take it to the next level.
What's the rough sort of annual budget and where it comes from?
Yeah, final
What is
budget.
the rough annual
Annual
budget?
budget of the institute, how, where is it?
350 crores, it should be.
600 crores,
600 crores.
50% of that is salary component.
How is it funded? All government funded?
Mostly government.
Fees is about 7% of the total.
Yeah, minuscule.
It's very minuscule. Some component beyond overhead charges from our R&D, which is about, let us say, 400 crores, 350 crores we generate, but then many of them are sponsored projects, many of them government projects, they don't give us the standard 20%, so there is a cap. Essentially, we end up getting very less on that. So about 20 crores or something like that, about 5%.
So I
Yeah.
have a question. If you look at all the IITs, and you look at what the faculty members do, how connected are they to industry in general? So that's one question. Second question is, in that framework, like how connected is IIT Kanpur to the industry?
Oh, well, now this is a question on which I have a very strong opinion, which is not generally acceptable. For us, most of the work which we get from R&D is from government, most. But we have also tried over the last few years to, along with the help of IIT Foundation in the US, to link up with the industry, and we have this industry collaboration advisory group which conducts this whole set of industry interactions, invites the industry from SANS and whoever is there, and then the faculty will connect with them. There is a 2-day kind of an interaction. They identify problems and they do it. Okay. Most of the time, the multinationals are more keen on joining us in the target because they are more mature in their approach of having academic linkages in the research domain. The Indian industry, even the larger ones, I mean, coming from a business perspective, I would say that they are more of, trading, manufacturing, and not really have come up with R&D segment. Their domain, their approach is also like that. They would rather buy some technology, produce it cheap here, and then sell it across the world, But their approach towards it, because I had this meeting in Bombay with all the top industry bosses, from Godrej and all these guys, they had come, and then this was one thing which even Indian pharma industry does not join us in this. So for us, to source R&D things or connect with the Indian industry is very difficult because the kind of problem, they do not act. They might like to have a testing certificate or validation certificate from IIT, maybe, which we don't do. But they are not really fostering a R&D kind of or innovativeness in terms of our innovative product approach or innovative listing approach to their business. We do have some big names like Boeing, Bombardier, all these guys who are with us. Our defense is with us. So that way our engagement is pretty okay.
But how does it compare to, let's say, IIT Bombay?
Normally the government funding is it depends on each IIT's strength in certain domain areas, and it is almost similar to, it's not that one IIT can actually go ahead without undermining, but in that case, actually, if you say that, we are the people who got the biggest, largest, high-volume project last year of 138 crores for Flex Electronics, single project, where we put every other IIT for it. So, and now IMPRIT is being run by us, so that's a 1,000 crore project among all IITs. So that way, we are pretty good because we are also near Delhi, and that helps sometimes. Private industry also, it's the same thing. It's not that any other IIT has a huge amount of private industry. Bombay might have a little bit more because of their corporate company. But we can get the figures, that's not, we have the figures.
Sir, I have a very basic question. What is the vision that the leadership team in IT Kanpur has set it? And how, and what are the things we need to achieve every year? What is, I mean, is there some kind of transparency where you can share that, hey, this is what IT Kanpur want to be in the next 5 years, right? And this is what we think we need to be doing, and these are the problems we have identified. And this is what we're going to achieve every year in terms of achieving our overall vision, right? I think we are right now discussing a lot of the solutions and all that, but what are the problems? What are the things that we need to do in order to achieve that vision? Do we have that two-liner vision?
We have a vision document for 2020.
I mean, document.
We can share, yeah, that's very big, obviously.
Right, I mean, can I have an highlight? Yeah. What is IT Kanpur wants to be? Does it want to be the best institute to attract the students? Does it want to be the best institute to attract the industry? Does it want to be the best one to do the research? I mean, what is the vision?
No, these are all interconnected. You have to be the best institute.
But what is the interconnected vision?
Interconnected, you have to be the best institute,
How
right?
do you define a best?
How do you define the best institute? Nowadays, no, you say, every day you say you only see the rankings.
How do the rankings?
But we don't agree with the rankings, that's a different issue. Yeah, that also we have been working on that. Suppose we are saying that we have to come to the rankings in that sense. See, what we are essentially saying is that, okay, what you cannot say is the vision. What we are essentially saying is what is the critical problems which we are facing right now to make this institute great. Now, the critical problem which we are facing now is one. Is the number of faculty members we can have at any given point in time. Right now we don't have, we have out of 650 we have only 400. And the last 100 have been recruited only in the last 2 years. Prior to that we never had. So that is one target. Secondly, getting the top 100 guys into the top 100 rankers into the institute. Okay, for that we need to establish and make this place very attractive in terms of research opportunities or research center. Like if I have a Google Research Center on campus, then maybe the top 100 guys would join me. It's not about that, it's about the perception of what we are
Sir,
saying.
what I'm saying is that let's take the first one where you said that faculty, right? We are short of faculty. Can you share some details on what kind of programs you have in place to solve that problem?
Yeah,
and
we
how
are-
the progress has been. So
Yeah.
the second one, what are those programs and the progress, right? And how the alumni can engage with you in a very transparent manner, in a very frictionless manner to help that program.
So in the faculty domain, what we have done in the last 3 years, 4 years, we have a New York office. New York you might know. Okay, so
I don't know.
yeah, sure. So we have a New York office. One of our alumni generously donated a space on Wall Street, about I think 1,000 or 1,500 square feet. It's just on the Wall Street. Okay, so. And we have an office with some minimal staff wherein this recruitment and internship programs are being run as of today. And that helped us to do what we set out to do, that is recruit 100, which is a record in the last 2 years. So to some extent we are on this thing, including internships. We have now have a high number of internships from the what do you call US or abroad. So we have that also we have been able to do. See, there is always this lag between what we are achieved right now and how it gets into the general perception and gets into the overall this thing. So there is a lag always. So last 3 years, to answer this question, we have worked really hard in this domain. From faculty recruitment, from industry collaboration, from students, from placements. Every point we have been pushing. But then we also found out that it is not possible for us to do all of this unless there is a level of engagement with our alumni. It's very difficult for us to. Like for instance, let me share with you some of the, like 83 batch, they have raised some resources and said we will fund innovative projects for prototype development by students. They come, they engage, we put a call out, they select the alumni. Then 86 batch or 87 batch has come up and said, okay, we would like to use this fund for social activities. Okay, then there is another batch, we said, no, we will form a organization with all our batchmates. And that will produce sponsored research, funding, raising funds, also providing, taking our technology to the market, promoting IIT Kanpur. So there is one batch which actually took that initiative, and last 1 year we have been working with them. So like that, what I am saying is the problems are numerous. The one single point agenda is that if tomorrow anybody says which is the best IIT in India, everybody should say IIT Kanpur.
I would question.
So I think,
On
the shows is, that I was telling we are all on the same side of the table in achieving that goal, right? What I'm seeing here is that over 2 days we are hearing different answers. Yesterday, Rebecca said that it's infrastructure. You mentioned that it could be the extracurricular activities or academic setup or placement issues, the PR issue. So it doesn't look like that there is consensus what are the problems. Maybe all of these are problems that need to be solved, or maybe we need to figure out exactly what they are. So there is some communication, and even the communication between the institute and the alumni. Right? You have the New York office, but many people are not aware of that. So I think making sure that everybody is aware and involved and engaged has to happen. Just to case in point, I'm in Silicon Valley. I've been involved very actively over the years. I was the president of the alumni association there. Was one of the founding members of the Man IIT Association as well, and so on. And turns out my nephew is the president of the IIT Bombay Alumni Association. And I've seen the difference between the way the alumni associations operate very closely between Bombay and Kanpur. And there's a huge difference in terms of the engagement between the institute and the alumni. There's no even comparison. So for example, we talk about PR. I think that could be an agenda item where somebody from the institute could come there, or they can invite etc. But there's so many great marketing ways that IIT Kanpur has generated that they can get together and they're happy to get together and say, okay, let's figure out what is the best way to do it. Maybe we hire a PR agency or whatever it is. But as you rightly said, alumni can help in more than one way. It's not just about monitoring, but also leveraging their expertise which they have built over the years. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to contribute, provided there is a clear kind of communication where they understand how they can engage, how they can contribute. And I think that's missing.
Okay.
Substantially.
Now let me answer this before I take you guys your questions on this. Okay, let me first give you my answer. For the last 6 months, this is what I've been working on. One, to create an internal LinkedIn kind of network database for all our 32,000 alumni. With their profile, which is only accessible to IIT alumni. This we will launch in about a month from now. Second, we have also increased this thing through the social media. We have verified and checked and authenticated out of the 32,000 email IDs we have, 27,000 of them, which is a record among all IITs. I've been recently to the Pan IIT Dora's meet, and I have seen what they have done. They are still thinking of going on to the kind of. These three, the social media engagement and the networking in terms of the database, these are the two things which we have, and also the email communication from the director which started this month will continue engaging you every 2 months. We have also given an option to all the alumni to choose whether they would like to have every news or they would like to have some items of the news in which they are interested to categorize and see what are their interest area domains, so that when we want to ask them, we can leverage that network. So this is what we are doing. The alumni association disconnect versus the foundation disconnect is something we are really working on. Okay, there has been some problems prior to my taking over, and we are really, with Professor Kripashankar being here, I think this is in a large sense we will be able to solve this. But there is some amount of disconnect and the activity levels of the alumni association which we are trying to overcome. But these are some of the things which we have put in place. Now, what I can definitely say is that from January or maybe later by February is that there would be a continuous engagement or connectivity with what is happening in the institute to what they need, how we can communicate it to them and then take their this thing. So even on foundation side, we have been working on that and that will come through. These are problems. Yes. So to some extent, we have been able to do that, but it takes time, right? I mean, what has been done, damage in 3 years cannot be done in 1 month.
You go first, then you,
I think
you go first,
now-
and then you. So
Just,
you go first.
just please, just allow me, sir, I have been, gently in touch with, with alumni in Bombay and some of the presidents who have been there, right, in the last few years. I mean, I can tell you my experience, and to be honest with you, when I was, few years back, I was thinking that I should be part of the alumni association and be an office bearer and then contribute. And I'm being very candid about, I think there is a huge disconnect, the point which you raised. The dynamics, the organizational dynamics between alumni association, the office bearers of alumni association, and the institute. And if I may say, there seems to be that sort of a tug of war that as to who owns alumni relationship. I mean, if I were to put it that way, like you are driving it, right? You being donor, you are driving it, right? That
Not the alumni association.
No, not the alumni association. I'm saying alumni association. So you seem to be driving the alumni relationship. Now you think about the alumni association itself. I mean, there's 2-3 member staff. Dr. Prakash Shankar is there and he does that. And the rest of the office bearers are absolutely not available, right? They're absolutely not available.
See,
So there's a complete disconnect
Okay.
the way it is organized.
See, the point is they have a charter. And our intervention is we cannot intervene because they are supposed to be independent of in their own charter. And they have this whole election system which is essentially biased towards, which can be hijacked by a few
Hey,
people.
I'm sorry, sir, the choice, I will be picking on you, right?
Right.
But see, now, you said they have a charter, which clearly signifies that there is a complete disownership, no ownership,
No.
and a disconnect.
No.
Because it is we and they.
No. Yes.
I'm sorry, we are institute and they are alumni association.
You didn't allow me to complete.
Hey, I'm sorry, that's why I
No, they have a charter which is very difficult for us to overcome. They have their office within the IIT.
I'm saying, please scrap it, no, scrap the alumni
It's
association.
not easy.
Hey, what is that?
You can't just break things like that. अरे family में कुछ भी झगड़ा होगा भाई इसका मतलब ये नहीं तो तोड़ दो.
The point is, because either we manage the problem.
We'll No, that we cannot, no, we have a consensus. The only thing is we would like to share it in a smaller group of it. We have done the study. Okay, we know where we are lacking. Okay,
Can we do the following?
that we are doing. So there is no way.
How do we go?
There
Please,
is
I think
no
we
way.
need to take over the things. I'm just,
No, don't say that, okay? We are really good. No, we really work very hard. There is no way that can be.
So what I would suggest, because, I mean, if I were to just do a time check, we are actually running behind schedule. We have, I mean, Jay and Amit, they have, some program for about an hour or so. Then we have Gopa, Mahan and Damanishta Das. So we are actually running behind schedule. What I would request, what I would request, we have what I would request post lunch.
His head is going to explode.
One point, it's an observation from speech on our part that we should be telling institute what to do. Some of us think that we should be actually managing the issue, which is wrong. Lot of I think like a lot of great people say, you should do their house correct, which probably is wrong because we don't know what happened. So we can only be regulars and supporters, not the rules. With that in mind, I want to bring our discussion back to where, when Professor was talking about what are the problems. So, for example, he said 450 packages have been had, the response is 650. What is preventing you from getting a 650? Or when you say your problem is PR, projection, what are you doing there?
Yeah, see, like,
And what can you do that?
Let's have different people, they want to maybe make certain questions, just take a note of the question.
we can give you the overall, just give it to us and we can send you a mail on what we have.
So yes, so Rajiv has made a point, yes, Rajesh, maybe at least you can just speak up yeah.
I'm getting to see the maybe there's some learning for us if they want to share it too. But they engage very, very aggressively with the rest of the world in many ways. For example, they have a lot of online courses. MIT and the US system, that's how the US and the universities. They have an online system of when you want to do some course, you go to EDX, there is no mention of any IT, including IT, maybe they have one or two courses. All the universities of Europe, all the universities of US, MIT, Harvard, you know, you name it, University of London, everybody has, you know, so I try to understand why you are making online courses.
Okay.
Okay, that's not just take the question.
And we tell.
Perhaps the unawareness, it is not only IIT Kanpur, it is the government of India which has thousands and thousands of the courses through their NPTEL.
NPTEL national program.
Are you here? Your brother handled that program for 10 years. Even I hope he not making a comment.
This is what national program on technology enhanced learning. It has 900 courses, online video available to every college across free of cost.
Let us get it. I don't think that
A lot of funding comes from the industry, it's not the government and the federal government, a lot of funding comes from the industry. They have lot of research and development. They have a data center with $250 million. So they are doing something for India, which probably a lot of patents and a lot of quality research gets generated in the category of the web page. And even students, I was amazed to see that undergraduate students, they are sitting companies out of undergraduate projects. So the whole system is supporting them. Once you have a genuine idea, then the whole system gets behind you. They do funding, they do patent, they will file you, and the student is the owner of the patent. It's ready for the student. So out of undergraduate projects, companies are spinning out of it, and the ecosystem is for innovation. And lot of interdisciplinary. There's nothing called mechanical. There's nothing called. Of course, there are departments, but everything is interdisciplinary, which is something which is about checking there.
Brajesh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe we can just allow the others to make their points. And what I suggest at 3 o'clock, we can reconvene possibly in the same auditorium.
I request that we can kindly present at 3 o'clock.
At 3:30, in fact, you are also welcome. 3:30, we have a inauguration of a new lecture halls. I'm sorry, I will not be able to come because but if it is 5 o'clock, it's fine. 5 o'clock. 5 is fine.
So do you think 5 works well for us? We can again do a similar
They should be here actually. So let us create the agenda for the next meeting. I think the points which have been made just now, whatever note we could do, mentally we have taken it. I think we'll have to address those. See the point is that
my suggestion is maybe please make a point, but let's not have a discussion right now.
The biggest problem is that highest ranks don't come. But at 5 o'clock, maybe you can share what are the parameters on which is operating. Chennai are better than IIT. We don't know that. We know the right part. Some of the parameters what are they? Maybe those are the
I'd like to just say one thing over here.
Yeah. Yes.
We are coming back after 25 years. और हमारी सबसे बड़ी खुंदक यह है कि जब हम यहाँ थे तो हम बकैती से कहते थे आईआईटी कानपुर है। अब साला लोग बोल रहा है कि दिल्ली है, बॉम्बे है, मद्रास है। All the angst in this room, and I am part of it, I have been disconnected from the institute, is the fact that हम वहाँ पे जाके कहते हैं कि कि अभी हम IIT कानपुर से हैं और कुछ कहने की जरूरत नहीं है, और अभी ऐसा सिचुएशन है कि हमें एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ेगा कि हम जब थे तब it was the best one. So there is a lot of energy in this room to make it better. I would love to go to the meeting. I won't be here unfortunately, but मेरे कहने का मतलब यह है कि this is still a public institution. It gets its funding from the government. A lot of policies are made by the government. So you shouldn't compare it to Harvard. You should compare it to the University of Michigan or the University of North Carolina, which gets state funding and where the political process is very interfering and very complex.
Yeah.
So the solutions have to be within the context. Within the constraints, within whatever activities have been happening. The attempt to connect with the alumni is something which, this meeting has motivated me to at least pay attention to the emails a little bit more. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
My observations, right, we can keep double clicking on a lot of problems, and there are going to be a lot of problems here, because it's a very big institute. The biggest problem to me seems like there is a marketing problem, right? 100%. That institute has marketed to us even the business case of what should be done properly, right? I think we can probably all in consensus.
See, exactly. I have to make a request. Either you teach us now, how should I market my own institute, your own institute to you? I think I lack the skill of marketing this very institute to an alumnus of the institute. I'm sorry to say that I do not have that skill.
Absolutely.
Point number two is that to make a conclusion, such a big conclusion, that there is no coherence, there is no, there is a lot of lack of consensus among the people, among the See, I understand that those people who are here, they are also serious and concerned about it. Don't to conclude that everybody here has been totally out of, just like that, and has absolutely no concern about the issue. It is not a very right assumption. However, we definitely believe that this issue today is wherever it is because of us means we would like to hear them. So please say something and don't repeat the same thing that everybody here has been doing nothing. I mean, that we have heard enough.
Just possibly as far as branding is concerned, possibly we have not been able to do our job. I don't have any hesitation. It's the age of branding, you have to brand yourself in a proper way. I think coming to what he was saying, the younger person was saying, and one such example is that we have not branded ourselves well. I remember I was a student over here, and possibly many of you were students at that time. We used to go for an interact, and invariably we lose the matches. And our words would be, you academically inferior B. That used to be our common slogan. But on that aspect, let me tell you, since last 2 years, IIT Kanpur has been a general championship, getting a general championship.
All of us have got fantastic ideas. Let's be more proactive. What can you do? What can we do? So what we can do, that we have this WhatsApp group. Let us post brainstorming sessions and we can give ideas to that.
Serious discussion, not on WhatsApp. Last two comments, okay? Last two comments,
Marketing of the
Last comment. Maybe the issue that shared external review document.
It's a serious, Rajiv, please don't mind, but I mean, let's discuss it fine. Last
Maybe the issue that shared external review document. We are at so maybe the issue that shared external review document. I think it probably be best to share and only when I had it after.
ठीक है भाई last
Among the points of bringing it together and including the subscription management, the marketing, and various ways that we should protect institute. I think one area which definitely is significant amount of attention is the website that we have currently. It's fairly archaic, but you look at the alumni website, reaching out to some of the things that not work, reaching out to all, and you see that you're reaching out to the wrong website. It needs to have significant improvement, including a place, for instance, last night, Kate and I were having a discussion that there needs to be an opportunity for current students who want to reach out to the alumni and have a small say. For example, a vendor's corner, that they have a particular problem that they want to reach out to and get expertise from previous alumni. They should have an opportunity to do so, and within the alumni, we can reach back and give them some of the experience that we have learned over years of being in the industry. Similar other opportunities in that in terms of marketing, presenting the significant achievements of the institute presented out to the world today. Because today, have your online presence. Your online presence is what you are. In infrastructure, I think the second to none. Despite having seen all the shortcomings that we have, I think it's really, really, really good. So that is not the key. And if I would love to see of what we believe to be done, not just a verbal discussion, but something which in terms of action points, here are the problems that
Suhail, I'm sorry to interrupt. See, guys,
Why?
That's a quick thing. A lot of you have not been engaged with the institute at all. I think it's unfair for you to come here and suddenly start criticizing and having not been engaged for 25 years. I think that's absolutely not fair. So a lot of points have been raised here. I think the best way to do it is 5 o'clock. I would request if the team here, the institute can maybe prepare a little short presentation where they can address some of the points that we are raising. Because I'm very confident and I know they have been involved. There's a lot of work that is being done as well. It's just that we are not giving them an opportunity to even speak and tell us what they are already doing. And we are just, barraging them with questions. I think that's a fair thing to do. So let us first present what's already being done. Let's see that at 5 o'clock, and then we can provide constructive suggestions.
absolutely. I would say.
If you can send me a list, like including the website thing, if you can send me a list of
We will
things.
present it in the evening.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you see that these are the things which we feel should be done. And I can give you a status quo on each one of them. Because whatever you have raised till now, is being done. Including the website is going to be launched in about 15 days.
So may I say, just Rajiv, I'm sorry to interrupt, but in the interest of time, I think I completely agree with what Jay has said. We have been disconnected. There are tons of things, including a mentorship program, by the way, in the institute. There are tons of things which are happening. We are not aware of the things which have happened. Let us be more aware and let's have the discussion at 5 o'clock. I think let's spend time of ours.
I was saying the same thing. I think let the institute first tell us what they are doing.
We were 5 o'clock here. I think let's do it here.
This is the example. If you want, I can extra. What is the relevance of it? We are talking about here. We are talking about this building. How suddenly this idea of health saving comes to the mind, and what will it add to the value of the discussion? This is what we are good at shooting, and keep on shooting, and what is the health saving? Yes, we have largely done all this. I'm not about. So I think we need to send at 5 o'clock, maybe a couple of hours, and we share all the points we discussed with. Now I think let us have a present. So I would request Professor Vijay Gupta to address us.
Hello, good day everyone. I think they got dragged enough, so they thought they should make somebody else stand up. First of all, let me thank all of you who thought I should come here and speak to you. It was a very surprised thing. I was very surprised when I heard that. The person who called me, I asked him why, did I teach you anything? He said, yes, he chose your seventh. So I said, you're still working here. So when I got here, somebody told me I failed 62 students in this course. I did not remember that. I said, now I know what, my wife said, now I know why they called you. Yeah, no, they want to beat you up. Well, I came prepared to be beaten up.
It was character building.
All right? The way the discussion was going on in the last half an hour or so, I could see how connected you are with Kanpur, with IIT Kanpur, how concerned you are with Kanpur. Probably I'm more connected with you than you have other lives also to live. I have nothing but Kanpur in my blood. Whatever I am today, whatever I respect I gather anywhere else that I go, is because of my connection, because of the 29 years or 30 years that I spent in IIT Kanpur. That is all that I have. IIT Kanpur has given me a whole lot of things. First thing that I remember is, back in 84 or so, I was in Patna. From Patna, I had to take a train back. I had a reservation in third AC, the maximum that I could afford with my teacher's salary. But when I got on the train was jam-packed. I could see the berth that was allotted to me. I couldn't reach there. So I started getting a little upset. I talked to somebody, said, "Chup karo, बैठो, कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, खड़े रहो जी." खड़ा. After an hour or so, one thin little boy stands up and says, "हम BNC से हैं, ये berth खाली करने जाए." और berth खाली हो गई. So I walked up to this fellow slowly, crept up. I said, "What is this BNC?" This is Bihar National College. Haven't you heard of Bihar National College? Bihar National College gets a lot of respect. Whatever you want happens. ठीक है, मैं तो सब IIT Kanpur से मुझे क्या मिलेगा? That's what I told him. He said, IIT Kanpur. He stood up again. He said, ये बर्फ भी खाली कर दे जाए. That is the power of IIT Kanpur. Getting a berth to the train. But after BNC, you see this issue of whether your college is the one that gets filled up first or second or third hurts me too. But this is something really beyond the control of a college. There are, I don't know how this cycle built up. When we were at the top, in late 1990s, when we were at the top, Kharagpur was at the very bottom. What has Kharagpur done? Nothing, nobody knew. What is wrong? Well, Kharagpur is down so down below. But they
slowly plot up. It takes a lot of time. Do not undermine the importance of a city. When you were a student, their lives were very different. Delhi and Bombay were not the great metropolitan city they are today. The kind of avenues the students find in those cities are something that they really talk about. And they talk about regularly. And this is how the is built up. And then quota colleges have a lot to do with it. They train people into this business of block, like what you were saying, Neeraj was saying, that the first 50 goes to Bombay, the next 50 goes to Delhi, and the next 50 goes to Kanpur or whatever. This kind of thing never happened. That they would go in a block. This block acceptance of seat is largely because of coaching that they get at Kota, or coaching center, where they have special classes on which college is the best to go to. And they are told, and these words are shared. So, it's a complex problem. But complexity is what you have to deal with. If I may advise my colleagues here, or erstwhile colleagues at least, I think this occasion was not to defend ourselves. This was an occasion in which we take people's suggestions. We look at them and we say, we'll work with you and get back to you. I don't think the total manpower at IIT Kanpur, this faculty, how so great we are, would have the kind of experience in marketing and image building as the group of people sitting here. I think we should defer to them. I mean, look at them. Those people are working on real companies, making them grow. Many of you, most of you. And you can learn a lot from this group. I don't really know what to say to a group of people like this. Maybe the best course is if I ask you, just like I used to do in old days. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. I actually attended all of the lectures in ESP. This is for me. My question is, I mean, since you spent so many years associated with IIT, and now you are associated with one of the emerging new private universities in India. So, what are the main differences, between a government-funded, mostly basically a state-funded, state-run institution like IIT Kanpur, even if it has a versus a completely private?
You asked me to compare IIT Kanpur with not state-run or whatever. I would not go into this IIT Kanpur regime. Whatever specifications are, IIT Kanpur versus university like Shada or LP or whatever. First of all, the IIT Kanpur does not have a shortage of students. They don't have to worry about what will happen to the institute if the students don't show up. And in fact, that's really part of the problem. They don't think they need to market themselves. The students will come to them. And we, as IIT Kanpur, we can act as if we know everything. People are coming to us. So we have all, we know everything and we can do everything that we want. In fact, this is the way we treat our students. We make rules. While we're making rules, I was part of the bodies that made rules, and I had made more rules than those people have made. In fact, the booklet of the undergraduate rules that we had was drafted by me. So the syllabi that you followed I was the signatory to that syllabi. But I think being student friendly is least of our concern in a place like that. You know that. When you go to the other side, a university like Shahjahan, the first thing that I notice is that really the students that I have are not interested in learning anything. That they join the university only for a degree. This is the first thing I notice. But then I recall, most of my students in IIT Kanpur were also there only for a degree, not for learning. Now, that was a joke. Even if it fell flat, at least from the expression on my wife's face, it fell very flat. No, that apart. It has taken me into a wrong territory altogether, territory which is dear to me. I speak a whole lot, I have very strong opinion about this, about the Indian education, the total Indian education, and there are very few kids who are interested in learning anything. There are very few kids who have curiosity of any kind. And those kids are not enough to fill all the IITs. So whatever other colleges are there, they have only those kids who have no curiosity about anything, or not there to learn. That doesn't mean that they aren't exceptions. There are exceptional kids there too. In fact, currently, in my 4th year class, there is a student who is as good as any student I ever found in IIT Kanpur. But those are very rare exceptions. Most of the kids have no curiosity. They don't want to learn. So we learn to devise new methods of teaching them. We new content on teaching them. In fact, this is where I learned that we make our studies in like IIT a little too mathematical oriented. This could be less mathematical oriented, could be to much better results. But that's another long story. Did that partly answer your question? Any other question? Yes, sir.
What do you find in terms of general state of education between the time when we were there batch and the current batch, comparing ITK to ITK itself?
I left IIT Kanpur 13 years ago, so I won't be able to compare what is the state today. But let me assure you, between 1973 that I joined IIT Kanpur and 2002 that I left, I don't think there was much change. The students were similar over that period. I would not imagine that the students now would be much different from what they were at that time. I would. That little wise a question?
Yeah.
I think I have a comment to make.
Yeah, please.
Regarding, you mentioned that, people don't come to, students come to IIT Kanpur, they don't have market. And similarly, students used to think that, okay, campus program, campus everybody comes and you don't have to make much effort to get selected into a job. And so, generally people get used to that easy approach. But when I see abroad, in UK for example, the university names, the little known universities are mentioned on double-decker buses. As you arrive into any small railway station, you will find the name of the university mentioned. There is intense competition for students and also marketing any little thing that they do for their students or employee engagement and so on. And even in research projects, like there is very much competition. Even though they have lots of funding in various projects, they still go on trying to get more funding. And they don't have enough people to do the project, but they'll always be trying to get more funding. And the funding is also a variety of funding sources out there. It's not just one company, but it can be a consortium of industrial organizations or in collaboration with government organizations, local government agencies. So there is increased availability of funds which people compete to, so that competition is always going to be there, and so that we have to recognize that. Okay, previously I Kanpur was at the top, but now there is competition with other institutes, private universities, everything. So it's open. So we have to make the effort,
Oh, yes.
and that has to be recognized.
You are right. You saw it here 15 minutes ago. You were all clamoring why we don't get the first 50 IARs. Yes, it has started.
So, yeah.
I think IT Kanpur faculty, the management is well aware of this problem, well aware of this issue, that they want to grab AIR1 every year, like they used to for 30 years. 30 years AIR1 never went anywhere else. The last time AIR1 went anywhere else was in 1963 when I joined IT Delhi. That reminds me of a joke. It's not, I was a student at IT Delhi. Professor Malhotra from there joined as a director at IT Kanpur. So one day he asked me, Vijay, what do you think? How do you compare IT Kanpur and IT Delhi? So I said, so after deep thought, I come to the conclusion. The best of the students are at IT Kanpur, best of teachers, best of students are at IT Delhi, the best of teachers are at IT Kanpur.
Thank you so much. I think it was indeed wonderful, and I think after all the debate and discussion that we had, and I think you sir perfectly addressed, in a very precise manner. And I'm sure, now in the evening when we meet at 5 o'clock, I think we'll take it from there. Thank you so much, and we all remember you very, very fondly. Please never, ever think about those 60 Fs. All of us, and I can tell you from the core of our heart, all of us, very, very fondly remember the SC207, and I think you really made us tough. You made us very, very tough. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now we have Professor Amit Ray. I think when we all joined, IIT, right? When we came to the campus, I think possibly as teenagers we were always thinking of engineering, applied sciences, and some complex formulas and some labs and all that. I don't think most of us, we never thought of HSS, as subjects, which are supposed to be taught and learned kind of perspective. I think Professor Ray really gave us a very, very different perspective in terms of art, in terms of history to all of us. And at least personally for me to choose that elective, was that one, you can easily get about 90 out of 100, which was very rare, in a subject. But at the same time, it was, if you get about 85, you may really fail the course as well. It came with that kind of stress. But we took that course only because, we said that it's going to be very, very different, and it actually turned out to be absolutely incredible. At least for me, it was a very, very different exposure that I had. So thank you so much for coming, and please, a few minutes.
I'll talk from here. I know Tarun is talking about me as a teacher, but I think I enjoyed my life here in IIT Kanpur more in the social life of students, because I was so much involved with the students, And one very important thing that perhaps you do not know, 91 you passed out, that is the year Dr. Wagmare was dean, and I volunteered myself to go there and tell him that I want to be warden of all one. He said, nobody wants to be warden of all one. Clearly he said, nobody wants to, because these people are all philosophers by this time, 4th year. They have no interest about the hostel. What are you going to do? I said, but because this is the batch that I started in 88, January, started teaching them, and I'm so much attached with this batch that I want to be warden of that hostel. And since 91 to 95, I was all one warden. So my knowing the students was much more than my classroom teaching. Classroom teaching, certainly I am a born teacher, I will say. Because I could never think anything else other than being a teacher. My father was teacher, my mother was teacher, I thought that's the best profession. And sincerely I think today that's the best thing, which gives me so much opportunity to learn new things and always be with students. And that's the best way of living. I am right now teaching at Shivnadar University, and even at this age I don't mind. Last semester I was teaching 3 courses. Nobody wanted to. And everybody said that, how can you teach 3 courses, including the vice chancellor? I said, I love teaching, and I have to do these courses because I want to attract more students. That's why I need to teach. And this is something that I never felt that teaching could be boring. Because teaching, I thought always is extremely innovative if teacher wants to. Which Tarun was just now mentioning, that course, I think that was the first time I was teaching. I was teaching first time, and my most important thing that I experimented at that time, used styrofoam to make model. Because nowhere else that was done, and I was myself learning, and I was trying to see that if we can make model out of that. And it was fantastic. I don't think the best thing we could do at that time, but gradually that same thing we learned, and it helped me quite a lot. So, what experiment I did with you people, perhaps you do not know that I learned a lot of things, because through those mistakes I started learning. And talking about the social life of students, there are few people here that remember that how they used to use our house, what they used to do to my house. One morning, Aditya Agarwal and Amit Agarwal, they come with a towel in their shoulder, with a toothpaste, toothbrush. There is no water in the hospital, so we have come here to wash our. I said that I'm going out for my class, and my wife is going for teaching. I said, don't worry, you'll have some food stuff in your refrigerator or not. Because they will have to have their breakfast also. One night, do you remember, Gopal? You were there, part of that group. That group came there because there was a match going on, World Cup match or something. Pranav was there, and there were some more people. Do you remember all of them perhaps? I don't know.
They shall remain unnamed.
So they all came, and that was after dinner. The reason is that we want to watch the match. So it's already late. Tomorrow there is office and so on. They said, who told you to stay? You can go to sleep. You can go to sleep. So they managed to keep everything on the floor and watching the match. I could hear there was a whole lot of fight going on among them. And the night, I don't know what time they left, they only simply closed the door and they left. And always the guarantee is in my house whether fridge has food or not. That has to be. Because they are coming for change from their hostel food to house food. But they themselves will make also. Apart from that, in teaching something that I always found, that is, the students were so curious, they want to learn, but I could not see from their expression. They are really learning it, how much they are learning from their eyes, because I have a habit of teaching in classes, perhaps the smaller class, that's why eye contact was something that I always used to have with everyone. And I could not imagine exactly what expression they had. My first class teaching here when I joined here in 78, winter, second semester, 6th floor I'm going to teach, and the course was for the 4th year students. You imagine they have to walk up to 6th floor, and that too also 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you cannot imagine. 8 o'clock in the morning, they are going up there. I go there through the lift, but most of them, they cannot take the lift because that's in another corner. So they are going through the staircase up to 6th floor. After the class started, I suddenly realized all of them are kind of half asleep, no reaction. I purposely made a wrong comment, and I think I was teaching in that course of ours on modern art. I made a wrong kind of a comment purposely. Suddenly I saw somebody raising hand. Then I realized they were not sleeping actually. They were very much listening, and that is something that I never understood in IIT Kanpur students. They have. Exactly, are they sleeping or they are listening or they are doing both? Another student, Rajiv Srivastava.
Looking at me. Why are you looking at us?
You remind us of Rajiv Srivastava.
Looks are similar.
Rajiv Srivastava.
Kallu.
He goes to sleep. And I did not realize that every time in my class he is sleeping. Because perfectly he holds his pen on the paper and he puts his hand here. Then I realized his hand is not moving. These are the small things that keeps on happening in my life, and I found the students, and Rajiv had a lot of other activities also in the class. I knew. In my class, there were 2 girls only. One is Rukmini, and the other one is Siddhartha, somebody. 2 of them were there. And my usual punishment was that if you talk among yourself, I'll make you to sit next to them. So they were in the front bench, and they have to come and sit next to them so that they cannot stop him. So these are the things that I used to enjoy, and still now I say that that is the best way I could rag my own students. First year students are ragged by the teacher, this is the best way that you could do. Come back to little seriousness, that today the university where I am teaching, I find that that's a place which is wonderful for me to replicate all the good things about IIT Kanpur, because that is helping me to set up the university. It is only 5 years old, so for the last 3 years It's in the formative stage, and we are doing all those things, whether from the hostel regulations to the academic side, everything that we are going through the IIT practices that we have done, which made IIT Kanpur so important and so great. And just like you, I am a teacher, but still I am as proud as IIT Kanpur student, and wherever I go, this is something that I can never forget, because staying here more than 30 years, and my sons were born here, for them this is home. They don't know any other place. This is their home. So whenever I come here, they would like to know how IIT Kanpur looks like. And of course, last night they were ringing me to find out. They are known some of the students, they knew them because they grew up in this campus, they knew some of you. So IIT Kanpur is something very special to me and will always remain special, and I will like to replicate most of the things, good things that I learned here. And lastly, when Tarun said about my course, one thing that I remember when I joined here in '78, then Director Amitabh Bhattacharya, he took my interview and he asked me, Amit, look here, you are not going to settle, you are not going to start an art college here. So what is it that you are going to do here? And I came back freshly, at that time with totally one intention. I'll start with art, teaching Indian art and civilization, which is my most favorite course, and I taught all along my life. I taught here for how many years I don't know, but I wanted to start design because art and technology opens up new area called design. So I told him, because I was fresh from Chicago that time, so therefore I had exposure with IIT Chicago there, which was coming from Bauhaus. So I came here, and I think I was very happy at the end when I was leaving this place. I could start the design program here with lot of effort, and I was fortunate that there were a number of faculty members who helped me to teach all those design courses which we were doing at that time. Many of you did 3 courses regularly. So ultimately it was a very, very fulfilling period for me to stay in IIT Kanpur. And it is nice to see many of you who were first year boys, now we are fully grown up men. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think, when you mentioned, your approach and your feelings, towards students, and it really, it was actually quite inspiring to just hear from you, the way you approached the subjects and the way you handle students. To be honest with you, personally, I was just thinking that I never knew this, and I could have actually come to your house or I knew this. That's the only thing which I remember. I missed it. So, but in any case, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your thoughts. Thank you so much. So now, I just request, Rajesh Gopal, Gopal, yeah, please. Stand it, please. Come. Come over. I request Gopa and Sanjay to just give us a small token, a small memento that we have to our beloved professors to please. Professor. please come. And now I'll just request Jay, please come over, and Professor Mishra. Jay.
Once I is there, I think this badge holds a debt of gratitude to sign the. And if you guys don't know, sign there was in my tutorial section, and I am the person who discovered his note. I'm the first time photocopies notes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Ray. Thank you, Professor Vijay. Thank you, Gadora and Gadora. Thank you so much. So now what we have is the next item on the agenda is Jay and Amit. I think you'll have to really cut down your plan, whatever that you thought of. Maybe about 45 minutes.
It will be a good thing to do a little bit of a reintroduction and look back at some of the moments that we had when we were a group together back in the 87 to 91 time frame. So we will walk through some of the slideware of some of the older stuff and newer things from the older yearbook that I did and the newer yearbook that Jay just did. And as we call each of the people, please come over here, say a few words. Time is short, so keep that to just a very limited 1 minute each person. But just reintroduce yourself to the group and have some fun.
So before we begin that, just a couple of observations from the past day and a half. When people arrived initially here for the reunion, the reaction was somewhat like that. That's what I think most of us felt, right? But then we started meeting each other, and we said, and of course, if we did recognize each other, I don't know if you can read it. It says, "Hey, no need to be embarrassed. I don't remember my name either." So that's how the evenings went. So I think most of us have talked to each other and kind of remember each other's names, but we thought we'll just do a quick reintroduction, invite all of you guys one at a time on the stage, so you can talk just a little bit about yourself. Just, say your name, department, what you're doing currently, and then we thought just add something fun. So we'll give you 30 seconds to memorize these 5 questions. Alright, just pick something interesting, one of these things which you can share. Instead of 1 minute, I think let's keep it to about 45 seconds. We'll announce the next person who is supposed to come so that that person can be prepared. So you can keep it short, but let's keep it fun. Don't. Sorry? Or we can pass the mic around as well. I think that might work. Actually, yeah, that may be faster rather than doing it. So just stand up, talk a little bit about yourself, and keep it very, very short. Looks like, is this working? Yeah. Alright, so look at these, pick one of these 5 questions and just answer any of the questions that you want. Alright? So, and what Amit has done, by the way, he has taken some of the captions that we had in the old yearbook. And there are a few quizzes that are intermixed with these introductions. Okay? So you have to, it will be a little bit of a fun, you have to guess who we are talking about with that. So we'll start with the first one. Amit.
this should be very easy. You know, you always start with the easy stuff. This guy from Bangalore, widely figured in the 87 folklore as the messiah for the guys in flunking books with his magic wand of photocopied notes. All right, Satdev. Go ahead. Build that up. By the way, I did notice something strange when, at the registration desk. Let me show you. I took a picture of that. So, where's Sandev? Sandev, can you give a mic to Sandev?
I just had one thing actually. Yesterday, I had good fortune to meet with Professor Shobha Madan. Gopa and Mahan were meeting her, and I tagged along. So when she met me, the first thing she said was, "So you were the one responsible for the mass bunking in your batch." That's the right counterbalance, you know, to prevent me from getting sworn in again.
People are still trying to photocopy your WhatsApp messages these days.
So, yeah, we will find the basic details in the journal that all these guys have had. I work in a corporate R&D lab in California, in the Bay Area, enjoying wonderful weather. And you know, and then what? Oh yeah, so electrical engineering. You guys want my role number 2? I don't know. Okay, and yeah, so you know, I mean, so my IITA moment from here is that comment by Professor Shobha. The IITA moment from when I was there was, it's kind of unusual, you know, but you know, Rannan Sheshadri, right? So he had cycled the 15 kilometers to the city to go buy Priya Achar. And he used to keep it locked up in his cupboard. So that led to some friction because we wanted to raid that cupboard. Eventually, we started pretending that we had took the lock and eaten it. Okay? And we started to play head games. You know, like while he was coming back from lunch, you would see 3 guys peering suspiciously out of the door, or out of the door of the room that he shared with me. Okay, and then when he came closer, the door would slam very suspiciously, right? And then when he asked us, we'd all claim that we didn't know anything about it. And, you know, so basically the whole idea was to get him psyched to the point where he would, you know, one day forget to lock that cupboard so we could access it again.
Ajit, are you here?
Ajit is
Here. PP. Next. No? Tyson?
I'm from civil engineering, currently working in TCS in the passport project. The most memorable moment was in the first year, the ragging of myself. The incident was that seniors asked me कि क्या कर सकते हो? Okay, and they were actually just asking कि 10 लोगों को select किया था. They wanted to select only 2 or 3 only out of them. So they asked the different questions, and one of them asked me to sing a song, and I started. And अभी मैं मुकरे से छोड़ के अंदर पे पहुंच ही रहा था कि उसने चिल्ला के बोला कि मैं तेरी रैगिंग कर रहा हूँ, तू नहीं कर रहा।
All right, the next one is a quest. Interested in heavenly bodies and went all the way to Pune for them. Snaps at anything beautiful and likes to keep company with light-headed people. There are the 4 choices. Let's see the answer.
Come on, guys. Thanks. You rigged the presentation behind me.
Yeah, this was something I did last night at 3 o'clock.
Thanks. So I went to California right after graduation, and I've been there since then. First, dozen years or so in hardcore engineering, semiconductor, IC development, and past 10 years on marketing and business side of things. So, one of the things that Professor Ray said that I really appreciate as a marketing person is, in modern times, it is so important to realize the value of design, whether it's product, your marketing materials, or anything. It's perception that matters so much more than the actual fundamentals. Not that the fundamentals are not important. So I really appreciate what I actually learned from 3 courses from Professor Amit Ray. And I'm really glad to see him over here. And I think I've met everybody over here in the past couple of days, so let's move on.
Rowdy Rathore.
Thank you. Name is okay, fine. No, the president says me first and then his department. So I belong to aerospace. I live in London right now. After Tech, I did Tech from Kanpur and then to MS from University of Liverpool. Currently, I'm a data architect, information architect, working with Home Office UK. I've been awarded few titles from British Computer Society. I'm a member of PCS. I live in London with my wife, 2 children. Yeah, that's God for me. My son is here, my daughter is going to stay next year. She's not here, preparing for admission, interviews, and other things. And my wife supporting her. Going back to memories, one of the days I remember initially when there was power cut in the hostel, few of us went out to save it from the mess directly. We were wearing shorts and slippers. Went to see movie somewhere, on a job or somewhere. It was late night, 9 to 12. After 12 o'clock, we couldn't find bus or temple anything. We walked on all the way. And by 3 a.m. we were back, and that was next lecture again. So I still remember, and we were fearful as well by walking down. Lonely roads, trucks running around on GT road, and walking around sideways. Not 8 o'clock, next day 12 class. I didn't say I don't get it. Thank you very much.
How many people remember the big power outage we had before the final exams of our final semester? That was an interesting moment.
Ashutosh Madan.
Hi, Ashutosh Madan, electrical engineering. After this, I did my MTech from IIT Delhi. Currently work with IBM in Bangalore. I've been there for in Bangalore for about 11 years. One daughter, Deepika. So I got many memories from my ITK days. One of them, starting with the ragging, was that I used to think that I'm a decent singer, but then I sang once, and after that, I've never been able to sing again. Another one was going to their theatre, watching a movie late in the night, January, maybe some 40 temperature, cycling there. And then we used to buy only 2 rupees ticket. And then the theatre person would say that only when he is able to accumulate about 20 rupees, only then he will be able to break even to actually run the show. And then we were only about 7 or 8 first. And so we were kind of running around here and there requesting people, please come at least watch the movie with us. Otherwise we not start. There were many, and the last was, in the last 7th and 8th semester, playing bridge along with the friends, maybe for, we would play till about 4 or 5 in the morning, again get up, anywhere go to school, didn't have any classes, and then start the bridge again at 9 o'clock in the morning and play till 4 in the night again. So it was amazing memories. So yeah, thank you.
Rajat Jain. Oh, we got one more quiz.
All right. ET turns half Homo sapiens in the final semester. UBI, looking forward to take off to. Any guesses?
There's one guess here.
Right.
Anybody else?
No, that's the run. Guys, we could not get better pictures from the old yearbook in a rush, so I'm sure you can tell who the ET is over here.
Well, we decided to mask it a little bit.
So, what did UBI mean? I couldn't interpret. What did UBI mean on that comment? Unfortunately born in India. I hope it has not turned into unfortunately stayed in India.
Not at all. So, guys, I remember, during ragging days, we were sitting in hall 2 quad, and we had, so there was this, dreadful looking Sardar. I don't remember the name, some one of the seniors. So we were sitting there on the grass, and this guy was standing. And I was asked a question, ये बताओ ये आदमी है कि सरदार? And I actually didn't know, and after that I don't even remember मेरे साथ क्या हुआ. Monga, नहीं, I don't know. I think Jal Bahadur. So काफी भूलकार से looks थे, so I was quite scared actually. So secondly, and one thing which I remember, there was a streak, I think somewhere in final year, we had a streak of some 20-25 days in our wing, where 16 hours a day we were playing cards. Okay, so we would continue playing, and we bunked virtually all lectures, labs. We were playing throughout the night. We would end the day with a chai at empty section. So it was like 5-6 of us, and it was like almost like 2-3 weeks. It just carried on and on and on and on. So that's what I remember of it. And of course, just in terms of the intro, so I have been working in various corporates, in corporate finance all throughout. So currently I work with a company called Continuum Wind Energy. It's a startup in renewable source in wind power. And so I work there as CFO. And I'm based out of Mumbai. Thank you. By the way, we have been graced by Ajay Mishra. He has come to the campus. Please extend a great round of applause to Ajay Mishra. Jabru, आपकी आदत अभी भी नहीं चेंज हुई. You just hijack everything what is happening. I'm allowing you to do it.
And late as usual to the classes. If ever make it. If ever.
So a quick what should I say?
Well, Nirmal Khan should say something. Nirmal.
ये तो टोटल हाईजैक हो गया था.
Okay, so apparently there is actually one Nirmal Khan. I was very surprised that Nirmal Khan recognized me. So next time should we vote for you or no? Vote for what?
I don't know what position. You just tell me where to click and I'll click it.
Thank you so much. So, yeah.
Okay guys, so
electrical engineering. So after doing my MBA, I worked for Cadence, went to Ahmedabad, worked for 4 years Motorola, 2 years of the US, 2 years India. Was at 13 years with GE Capital Financial Services. Right now we run NBFC, which does microfinance loans, and we're trying to convert that into a small finance bank right now. So two things I want to just cover. I think we have fabulous memories in ITK. There are hundreds of memories. I'm sure we'll all bring a common thread for all of you. So I won't talk about that. Just two things. I think one, the business that we do, somebody should do a little bit of reading on microfinance loans, really doing something at the base of the pyramid. After a lot of years in corporate life, doing something for really poor women out of villages, giving small ticket loans, making some impact to their life, and doing it commercially, which attracts the investors to do it. I think something really good. So if you ever want to read, ask, talk, I'm happy to talk about that. The other thing I want to talk about was, I'm going to keep it very, very brief so that I can just take it with my time limit, is that around the age 2023, I developed some backache. I used to run, I stopped running, and then for the next 20 years, I never ran. I did my yoga, I did that. After about 20 years, somebody told me, and I think this is relevant to all of us. So somebody told me that we can do marathons. And I said, how do you do marathons? And he said, I do marathons by just walking the distance. I said, if you walk the distance, I have been walking 4-5 kilometers or 3 kilometers every single day for the last 15 years. I think I can stretch that to 21 kilometers by walking. And in 2012, at whatever age you can guess, I did my first half marathon just by walking. And the reason I'm saying this is a lot of people think that marathoning is running, and actually marathoning can be done in 100 different ways. So I walked the distance, and and we have almost everyone in office who can now do half marathons by walking. And we do it in roughly 3.5 hours. And then gradually I improved it to 2:45. So I've done Mumbai marathons and this, that, by just walking. 100%, not even one step of running, because of this fear of my back that if I run, it will sort of get, my feet will come back. And I reached a point where I can do a half marathon in 2 hours 45 minutes. The guy who told me, he does the full marathons in 5 hours 15 minutes by walking. And I've done some 8-10 half marathons, 1 full marathon, 1 kilometer, just by walking. That's my point. So it's not about I'm sure somebody out here would have done a longer distance or would have done more runs, but just by walking, I could do that. At the beginning of this year, my wife said, I want to start running. Okay, and let's get a coach to do that. So I said, now get her stand. The coach is there, I also run a little bit. My wife dropped out of 3 weeks, but I started running with the coach. So my fear of 20-25 years disappeared, and I started running a kilometer, 2 kilometers, and amazingly, in 3 months, with having done no running the last 3 years, at a body weight of about 88 to 90 kgs, I could run 10 kilometers. And in about 4 months, I could run 10 kilometers within 70 minutes, which is reasonably good, not too fast, but just in 4 months. But the tough part of running is that it does lead to injuries. So after about 9, so I could stretch myself 60 kilometers in about 9 months.
Sorry to interrupt, but
I understand.
just want to make sure that
the point is
we can keep moving.
about fitness. I think anybody who wants to get motivation from this, wants to get more fit, I'm there. Any advice, I'll be there.
His response was longer than his ESCO 7 final exam paper.
Adalagova. Not sure. Okay, so we have one more quiz coming up.
Happiest when moving in the nth dimension, surpassing all obstacles without tension. 3D space, we are told to him, is a mere 3D manifold, and IITK to Princeton, a simple local path connection. Mahan, Rajesh, Satish, Purohit. Yes.
Looks like audience is equally split between Mahan and Gopal. Let's see the answer. Mahan or Gopal, one of you want to guess?
All right, let's welcome Mahan.
So Mahan, we'd like to invite you on the stage here. And Mahan is also going to give us a talk. So give it up for Mahan.
So, just a very quick poll. I think Mahan looks much smarter with a beard. Would you agree?
Yes. Okay, so I'll share with you a ranking of a senior
which we indulged in our third year. And Gopa was the bait, and Siddhartha, Mitra, and I were the perpetrators of this ragging. So this guy had two characteristic features. He would sleep perfectly rigidly at attention. Second, he was very fond of giving gyan. So these two characteristics were utilized, and Rajesh went and asked him, and we had to sort of con this fruit at an undesirable state of degeneration underneath his pillow. It was some Independence Day or something. We were walking back from the gate, and Rajesh was induced into asking him something on quantum mechanics. And of course, this fellow would go on for about half an hour, and in the meantime, we were supposed to slip in. And the fruit was slipped underneath his pillow. It stayed there, degenerating for a couple of days. I think much of Hall 1 sort of came and investigated, lifted his pillow a little bit and saw that the fruit was still there. And then after 2 years, somebody कोई चुगली किया, तो उसको पता चल गया उसके बाद.
Mahan, why don't you also give your talk now? Because I know that you have to leave early, so you would like to. Why don't you come over? So it's a good segment. Come on.
So I was planning to go. Okay, so so the talk was supposed to be on. I'm primarily directed at the younger generation, and so Professor Vijay Gupta was talking about exciting curiosity amongst the next generation. So I have two questions, and so the questions were something like this. I mean, so what are numbers, and how does one think about them? What are shapes? How do we understand them? How do we think about them? And we can try understanding these questions at various levels, either in terms of computational biology or cognitive neuroscience, but I'll focus on the mathematical part of it. So what are numbers? I mean, typically, how did human beings discover numbers, for instance? And so for example, I mean, you ask yourself how many people are there in this room, and I doubt any of us is going to have a clear answer by just looking at the room, right? On the other hand, on the other hand, I mean, we have a fairly precise enumeration count. I mean, how is it done? You sort of list these guys, and there's a number at the beginning. There's a serial number, and you just look at the last number, and that's it. You have the count. But how did this process all start? And very likely it's some, extremely brilliant, what we would call today a mathematician. Very possibly that at some point of time human beings started having cattle, and how would you sort of count cattle? Can't expect them to stay at one place. So there was a pen, presumably, and then one cow would be let in through the gate, and this chap would count one pebble. And then another cow and another pebble, and finally you've got all the pebbles on your hand, unlike cows, and you can count the pebbles. So what is that guy doing? I mean, he's setting up a one-to-one correspondence, and this equivalence class of correspondence between pebbles, animals, etc., is a number. But this is the additive model. I mean, so the building block of numbers is, say, one pebble by one pebble. And then, so how are you going to look at all numbers in terms of building blocks? Essentially, the building block is just the number one, and you add it to itself, and you get all natural numbers, all integers, all positive integers. So how are you going to understand them further? And then the next thing was to sort of group numbers together in groups of equal size. And then human beings came up with this notion of multiplication. So 5 groups of 4 is 5 into 4, etc., etc. So from addition, there's a somewhat more abstract, more sophisticated structure, that of multiplication. And once you have multiplication, then you ask, in terms of multiplication, what are the building blocks of all numbers? And which means essentially one is reduced to numbers which, if you want to divide into blocks, you cannot. So then you get right, and that gives rise to the notion of prime numbers, things which can be factorized only in terms of 1 multiplied by the number, and that's it. So now the question is, okay, so are these prime numbers, these multiplicative building blocks of all numbers, are they finite in number? Are they infinite in number? So this was a question that was posed more than a couple of thousand years back. And at that time itself, the founder of, So Euclid essentially came up with the proof that prime numbers are infinite. And it's a beautiful proof, and I can't resist telling you the proof. So suppose not. Suppose there are finitely many prime numbers. So just enumerate them: P1, P2, Pn, and you multiply them all together and add 1. Yeah. So you divide by P1, you have a remainder 1. You divide by P2, you have a remainder 1. You divide by Pn, you have a remainder 1. So if one of the prime factors of P1 to Pn plus 1 was one of these n numbers, then you have a contradiction. So which means that the prime factors of P1 dot Pn plus 1 cannot be P1, P2, Pn. Therefore, there have to be infinitely many prime numbers. So this is some, I mean, you have yeah, so I mean, you have absolutely, I mean, this is typically the kind of problem that we as pure mathematicians have. We have absolutely no idea what that prime number is, what the prime factor is. We just know that there exists something. Okay, so this is sort of, I mean, this was done 2,000 years back, and right now there's a problem in number theory. I mean, so understanding the building blocks of numbers is what sort of gave rise to theory of numbers, algebra, very large part of mathematics. And one of the conjectures today, it's called the ABC conjecture, because it just uses the letters A, B, and C. And that also has to do with what is the deeper structure of primes, what is the relation between this addition, where the building block is 1, and multiplication, where the building blocks are prime numbers. So the conjecture goes something like this. It says that you have 3 numbers, 3 positive integers, a plus b equal to c, and you look at the distinct prime factors, distinct prime, yeah, of a times b times c. Yeah? And the conjecture is that you look at all those distinct prime factors and you multiply them together, and that product that you get is not very far, I mean, not very much larger than the number c. Okay? So the order of magnitude of the distinct prime factors of a, b, c, provided a plus b equal to c, and the number c, the discrepancy is not too much. This very innocent sounding, almost a sort of a playful kind of conjecture is one of the deepest conjectures in number theory today. And it would give rise to various things, conjectures which have been made. I mean, this was formulated by Osterwey and somebody relatively recently, but it gives rise to probably one of the holy grails of number theory called the Riemann hypothesis, so a couple of 100 years back. So yeah, I mean, so that was one part of the job. That's what are numbers, how do we think about them. The other part is what are shapes and how do we think about them. And that is what gives rise to geometry. So what are shapes? And again, you'll have to start looking at what are building blocks of shapes. And this was again devised by Euclid about 200 to 300 BC. And the kind of things that he came up with at that time, so essentially straight lines, circles, right angles, points. And he came up with a problem. I mean, this parallel postulate, which probably many of you are familiar with. Given a straight line in a plane, given a point outside it, there is one and only one line through that point parallel to the first line. It has a flavor which is somewhat different from the remaining axioms of Euclid. I mean, the first 4 axioms of Euclid actually define the players of the game. What are the building blocks of geometry? Points, lines, line segments, circles, and right angles. I mean, so it's sort of telling you a property. So that's why it was not given the status of an axiom, which was called the parallel postulate. And the problem that was posed in 200 BC was, can you deduce the 5th postulate? Can you deduce the parallel postulate from the remaining 4 axioms of geometry? The solution came some 2000 years later, and the solution is logically a bit of a conundrum. It says that you can neither prove the parallel postulate, nor can you disprove it. So there are systems of geometry which assume the remaining 4 axioms, and instead of one and only one line through a point outside a straight line, you have infinitely many lines. Yeah. So it is consistently possible to devise a system of geometry where, given a straight line, given a point outside it in a plane, so of course what's hidden is in the plane, it's no longer the Euclidean plane. So given a straight line, given a point outside the plane, there are infinitely many lines through this point, which are parallel to the first line. That gives rise to the field I work in, which is called hyperbolic geometry. Okay? So a place where these 5 axioms hold, it's called hyperbolic geometry. This sounds abstract, but if you look at, say, a leaf of a lettuce or a spinach, or maybe one of these leaves which are very wavy, not these are very smooth. Say, for example, something like a spinach, you will see that the edge is extremely carunculated. I mean, so the leaf itself is very wavy, and the edge is extremely wrinkled. So what's happening is that on that leaf, at various points, there are sort of things like horse saddles hidden. I mean, so there are sort of paths which go from the top, I mean, where the radius of curvature points downwards and directions in which it moves upwards. And so the surface becomes extremely floppy, extremely wavy, and there's a wrinkled edge on it. So that's sort of a very natural phenomenon. I mean, you'll see in nature this kind of hyperbolic geometry. So, okay, so yeah, that's what I wanted to sort of share with my young friends particularly, that, I mean, it's these two very basic questions: what are numbers, and how do we as human beings understand them? What are shapes? How do we as human beings understand them? Gives rise to essentially all of mathematics. Algebra on one side, number theory, and geometry analysis. Okay.
Guys, thanks Mahan. We have maybe 20-25 minutes of more of this to go, and we wanted to weave in a couple of other talks that were arranged. So we have a choice. We are running late for lunch. Lunch is in hall 1. We have a choice. We can continue here and go for lunch maybe around 2 o'clock, or take a break now, come back and continue. All right. Okay.
Alright, so we'll continue, and let's just make sure that people who are supposed to give a talk are the only ones giving a talk.
They're only giving a talk, not a lecture.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Currently, I am living in Hyderabad and working for Department of Telecommunication. This is my superficial working. When you ask me what exactly I work, I feel I do not work anything. I do not work. But I can listen. I can listen to each of you, your family, your kids. I'm a good listener. You can call me for sharing any kind of experience, whether it is high, low, trivial, deep, profound, shallow, whatever is there. I'm available. Thank you.
Is there no? Hello, I am Rajiv Ranjan Prasad. I am from Mechanical Engineering. I am working in the railways. I am working in the railways, right now posted at Varanasi. I was in Hall 2.
All right, this is a quick one. Hi, P.A. Kiske. And the choices are Ajay, Rajesh, Manish Gupta, Aviral Gupta. Aviral Gupta. Got it. He was supposed to be here and we're missing him, so we'll move on.
Yeah, I am Class-of-1991. After doing my engineering, I joined in the IIT only and for MTech. while I was preparing for the civil services. I got selected, and presently I am in Delhi, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, as Joint Secretary. So whoever is in Delhi are most welcome. Where and when there is any issue, any problem, you can meet me. And the other issue I am facing in my house is my son is in second year IIT Delhi.
Ashok Meena. I did BTech, and just like Samaria, I also abandoned MTech midway through in all 5. I joined IAS, was allotted visa cadre. Presently, I am working as Joint Secretary in Ministry of Defense. As far as important thing is concerned, I don't do anything in particular, but I am a jack of all trades, as all government servants are. So if you have anything to do with the government, you can most importantly get in touch with me. Thank you.
I work with Pranav in Bombay. I manage the activities for India. Got 2 kids, a daughter who's going to Colombia this year, and is my wife, Christina. I think the most memorable moment I remember one, we were walking back from MT, smoking cigarettes, and I see my father. So I was with mom around the MT, and I said, "You take my cigarettes." So, and then I walked to my father, and then my father said hi to him. Then I looked towards around the MT, smoking.
I hope it's already recorded, right? All right, the next one. The doctor told him, your knees cannot carry your weight. So he went ahead and reduced his brain to nut size. All right, let's see. Neeraj Gupta. People know you so well, Neeraj.
Chemical engineering, JE rank 622. I left, went to US, came back after a year, did an MBA at FMS, and then went back to US again, worked there for about 10-12 years in equity markets, hedge funds, software, and then me and my wife, we opened a dental business that we're running now. In terms of our experiences at IBM, there's so many, but Puneet Prakash, my roommate, and I, we missed our first 3 math quizzes. We were both sleeping in the first semester. In the second semester, in tutorial T2, I was sitting and Sainde was sitting next to me, and I suddenly looked at his notes, and my jaw dropped. And the rest, as you know, is history. So Saindev had this uncanny ability of looking at the prof with his mouth open and his handwriting without looking at the notebook. And I was looking at the blackboard and looking at his notes, and that's when a light bulb went off, you know, that this is gold. So anyway, I was not very serious in the first few semesters. My first A was in programming in the 4th semester, and that's when I became serious that I want to go to the US, and you know, that's how it turned out. So I have my wife over here. We have 2 daughters. My older daughter Elena goes to Cornell. She just joined, and my younger daughter Ishika is in 9th grade in high school, and we live in Ithaca, New York. Thank you.
Deepak Kumar.
Manish Kumar.
Manish, not here. All right, keep going. Arun, see.
Hello, I am Sri Arun, and you know me, and Arun Chakraparty Rao, as it is written in full.
This is the first time we figured out what C stood for.
Yeah, and I've been having trouble with that because abroad no one spells my name correctly, and there are about tens of variations, all funny ones, and it never ends. And it gives me a lot of amusement to see how they can get the spelling, pronunciation, and everything wrong. But here I have used it, but the convention is not to use the surname, right? So that's one thing. And I'm from electrical engineering, material science engineering now. I'm currently a researcher at Rolls-Royce UPC in Sheffield, England, working on projects related to control and systems engineering. And Rolls-Royce is not Rolls-Royce motor cars as many people think. It's basically the gas turbine engines. Predominantly we do projects for civil aerospace, so that means engines for Airbus and Boeing, engines. And yeah, lots of memorable moments listed there. Every day was a memory, and many times. One of them that was mentioned here is going to the city, as I used to do quite often to escape the academics.
We have two kids. One is in college and one is 10-year-old daughter. I've run a company business for federal governments ever since all the work that we do is for the US federal government. And really the biggest thing I remember from IIT days is Bulla. And ever since we have been to this reunion, we have been doing Bulla. Last night we were up until about 4:30. And really, one thing I have learned is every time that I come to a gathering like this, or I meet people, there's so much to learn from them, and that never stops.
Brajesh.
Yeah, so after BTech, I did my MTech also from here. I was getting a couple of opportunities and fellowships by Ohio State and Yale and a couple of other places. Probably decided not to go at that time, which would have been a different thing. Maybe there was one question what we would have done differently. I got a chance to go to MIT. I'm at MIT right now, so probably life has come a full circle, and I have been able to make up for that mistake, probably which I made, which I would have done differently. I work for the Indian Railways. I'm working in Delhi in the Ministry of Railways. It has grounded me, and I have a lot of experience with the Indian industry, not the Silicon Valley types, but the real dust and grime and the blast furnaces. So it has grounded me. And I got two children, a son and a daughter, and my wife, she's sitting there. I think that's about it.
Next one up is Rajesh Gopakumar. Rajesh, come on. On the stage, please. And he can consume as much time as he wants. He deserves it. Come on up. Come on.
All right, so we're going to have Gopal do his talk as well. He has a small presentation, so why don't you bring it over? Yes, we can just talk it out.
he asked me whether I could communicate, especially to the younger members of the audience, something about what I do. And since a picture is always worth 1,000 words, I thought it'd be best to put it up there. I won't take very much of your time. This won't be a free one-on-one lecture for you. I'm sure many of you haven't had a physics talk for many years, so I won't try to tax you very much. But firstly, before I go to that, I just wanted to say this meeting, it has been so overwhelming. I mean, to see so many of you, as it has been, I'm sure, for all of you. And I'd especially like to thank Tarun and Amit and Jay and so on for all the special effort they put in, so much beyond the call of duty in a sense to this thing. So I'm sure we'll thank them, but let me just offer a round of applause to all of them. So yeah, coming back here has been, and especially with you people, it's sort of brought back so many memories. So when Jay was asking about special memories, I was trying to think, so many of them like cycling to Bara Sirohi at night beside the Ganga Canal, climbing onto the 6th floor of the faculty building. These are things you do at a certain age in your life and it never comes back again. And when you come here, all those memories, almost every corner has a memory which leaps out at you. You were there with a friend, you were there with someone else, you had a chat about something which maybe made a big difference in your life view. So it's such a formative period, and yeah, we all transited from being an adolescent to an adult. We were formed here. So I think it's great that we come back here and recreate that moment. So anyway, thanks to everyone who put it all together. So since leaving this place, I have been, I did my PhD, and so in a way, IIT Kanpur was the beginning of my whole life work, and my this thing sort of it's been a personal quest, as I will just say, in theoretical physics, and it all began here. Then I went for my PhD and so on, and I've been in India from 2001, first for many years in Allahabad, at a wonderful research institute. It's a sort of it's a great ashram. I know you wouldn't think of Allahabad as the most obvious place in the world to go and live for 14 years, but it was a great experience for me, another formative stage of my life. But I'm now in Bangalore for the last year or so, and we are trying to set up a new center. It's called the International Center for the Theoretical Sciences, and it promises, we hope it will become a different kind of a center from the existing Indian institutions in bringing together academics and industry and society at large, because it's so little happens in India that our scientific research, our institutes, our academics are in contact with society at large and try to give sort of have a two-way dialogue. So anyway, that's what I've been trying to do. Just to give you a little context of what I do, I've titled it as From the Very, Very Large to the Very, Very Small. The quest of physics is a bit like going on a trek. If you wish, I'll frame this as some kind of snapshots from some Himalayan trek, which many of us did when we were here. We used to go for these treks, and then you come back and show your friends snapshots that you've taken. But it's only a substitute for, of course, going there and breathing the air, but it gives you a sense of what it is like. So that's what I'll try to present it a bit like that. So to continue with that sort of metaphor, in some way, theoretical physics, if you just were looking at it as an outsider, just as a complete outsider, you can say very broadly, so you look at a scenery, you'll see two peaks standing out in theoretical physics. And these are both almost 100 years old in some sense, but still very rich and new. Maybe some of you might have heard the terms, but I'll sort of walk you a little bit through them. One is called general relativity, and the other is quantum field theory. So general relativity is something that it's Einstein's crowning achievement of the so-called general theory of relativity, and it's about, we are celebrating the 100th year of its discovery. It was Einstein's description of the force of gravity, which we all know and which we are all subject to. But it was a revolutionary description because it was in terms of the geometry of space and time. Mahan just talked about geometries, different kinds of geometries, non-Euclidean geometries, and it was surprising that that abstract mathematical concept had a very real effect or a real manifestation in the geometry of our space and time that we all experience. So I'll say a little bit about that, but to go on, quantum field theory is maybe a less familiar term, but in a way it is the culmination of the quantum revolution, the quantum mechanical revolution, and it is a very general framework in terms of which we understand most of the interactions of nature, like electromagnetism. All of you, we have studied electromagnetism in our Phi 102 course, but the quantum version of electromagnetism is much more subtle, and in fact it's very relevant for many applications and so on that we use without knowing these days. And it's, so this is quantum field theory is the broad framework. So these are the two peaks I just want you to keep sight of, and just as I go on. So as I said, the revolution of 1915 of Einstein was to sort of say that gravity is geometry. So when we think of a satellite going around the Earth or the Earth going around the Sun, we are, of course, we taught in school about Newton's law and how it describes that. But another way, the way Einstein viewed it, and which is in fact the more accurate description, is that the Earth or whatever other object modifies the geometry in its presence, and the satellite is just responding to that modified geometry. Because if you have like a rubber sheet like that, it will tend to move in an ellipse or a circle rather than in a straight line, which it would have done. So in a way, the gravity is geometry. So that was the revolutionary insight of Einstein up there, and those are the simplest version of his equations that he's scribbling on the blackboard. So you might ask, okay, why do we need Einstein's theory? It's after all, Newton's theory is very good for many things, and indeed, if you want to send something to Mars, you might have seen the film The Martian or The Interstellar, or some of these things. Well, at least some of the things in The Martian, you just need Newton's laws, but some of the things you might have seen in maybe Interstellar really require Einstein's theory, some of the phenomena you see there, because there are many extreme phenomena in nature. So on the left-hand side is an object called the pulsar, which is a very dense star and which emits radiation. There are neutron stars, and in fact, there are objects called black holes, which you might have heard of at the center of galaxies, like the one on the right-hand side. So there are extreme phenomena in astrophysics whose description can only be given in terms of Einstein's theory. So Einstein's theory is not just some small refinement or correction of Newton's theory. It's something we absolutely need. And if you think, okay, that's extreme astrophysics, maybe some handful of astrophysicists care about that. But perhaps it'll surprise you that even the GPSs on your phones, if you don't have the correction from Einstein's theory to take into account that the satellite to which it is sending the signal, so your GPSs are synchronized by satellites, and the satellites are high up, so they are gravitationally, they are in a weaker part of the gravitational potential. We feel a stronger gravity here than the satellite feels up there. And there's a correction in the clocks. The clocks move slower in a strong gravitational field compared to the weaker one. And so there's a correction. And if you don't include that correction, which is this thing by Einstein's theory, your GPS will very soon go out of sync, and you will be sort of lost, literally. These very abstract considerations sometimes really have down-to-earth consequences. That's one thing I just wanted to say. But the larger picture I wanted to give was that Einstein's theory is a very successful description of the universe, all the way to scales which we find it very difficult to think of. 1 million times the size of the Milky Way. Perhaps some of you have a sense of how big the Milky Way is. We are in a small, our solar system is in a small corner of this Milky Way, and we are talking of something 1 million times that, where there are literally millions of galaxies of the size of the Milky Way. So Einstein's theory gives a very successful description all the way to these highest scales that we have probed. So this is the macrocosmos, the very, very large, and I wanted to connect it with the very, very large, and I wanted to connect it with the very, very small. So what about the very, very small? They have a sort of a different, apparently different description of reality at the very, very small, because we know that the existence of atoms is because of the quantum nature of electrons and protons. It is not something we normally see in the quantum phenomena. It's not something we normally see in our world around us. But electrons and protons actually behave in a quantum way. The light, the photons that you might have heard of photonics and these things, light behaves in a particle-like way. And in fact, there's a nice little cartoon that captures that. Depending on, it's a dual nature. Light is a particle if you read it one way, or a wave, and it's literally something you have to flip back and forth between. And this very unintuitive dual particle wave nature of light and electrons and so on underlies our description of nature at the atomic level, and this is in fact the basis of all modern electronics and gadgetry, or all the touch screens, even the laptop here, they rely on electronics. The hardware is due to quantum phenomena in the atoms and the solid materials, that the semiconductors and so on that go into its construction. The screens are due to the photoelectric effect. It underlies everything. In fact, there's a very interesting statistics that 30% of the US GDP is essentially based on exploiting quantum mechanical phenomena. It's not something that would have been there if we didn't understand quantum mechanics. So it's quite remarkable if you think of it that way, that our modern technology rests on a very abstract mathematical basis. This is something I feel we should appreciate more, but just going a little bit further than the atomic level. In fact, physicists have managed to push it all the way to even smaller distances, about 1 billion times smaller than an atom. An atom itself is about 1 million times smaller than we can visualize, but you go 1 billion times smaller than that, and you might have heard of the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva. That's the scale of the collider. On your left-hand side is the Geneva airport, the airstrip at the bottom, and you can see with the scale of the airstrip. There's a much bigger circle. That circle is the big collider. There's a smaller circle which actually accelerates particles and sends them into the bigger circle. And so you can see the scale, and that's what scale, that large scale actually enables you to accelerate things to high enough energies that you can probe to distances 1 billion times smaller than an atom. So it's not through a microscope that you do it, but you do it through these massive colliders. But we have a very good theory to describe everything that we see. You might have heard of the Higgs particle. It was discovered here last year. So the microcosmos and the macrocosmos we have sort of understood. We have a physical description all the way from 1 billionth of an atomic size to 1 million times the Milky Way. It's quite amazing if you think about it. But the remarkable thing is, even with this understanding, we still have limitations. And the quantum field theory is unable to describe Einstein's theory in a fully quantum way. And that's where string theory, the thing I study, enters, because it's an extension of the notion of quantum field theory to extended objects, things you might call open strings, which are like just pieces of string, or closed strings like rubber bands, and that's just showing how they move in time. And there's a very rich theory of this, which in fact gives a whole new insight into the quantum nature of space-time, because gravity, as I just told you, is space-time geometry. And when you are talking about it at the quantum level, there's a whole unusual notion you have to figure out, both mathematically and physically, of what is quantum geometry. Anyway, so again, you might ask, who cares about quantum gravity? But in fact, quantum gravity is very essential to understanding the birth of the universe. The left-hand side is a sort of a cartoon of the evolution of the universe. We are sort of on the right-hand side after 13.7 billion years. But you see the left-hand side, the sort of the Big Bang, as a big, there's this bright spot, and if you see the wording over there, it says quantum fluctuations. It's the quantum fluctuations at the origin of the universe that's responsible for the sort of the galactic structure that we see right now. So it's very important to understand the birth of the universe. We need quantum gravity. And similarly, there are black holes I mentioned earlier. So the very, very small is really present in the very, very large. You can't understand the very, very large without the very, very small. And in fact, string theory has been very successful in understanding some of Hawking's. You've seen perhaps the theory of everything about Hawking's life. He came up with a very interesting observation about the property of black holes at the quantum level, and said they have something called black entropy. They have an entropy. You remember maybe ESC 101 thermodynamics, something called entropy? Well, anyway, black holes have an entropy. And that was Hawking's great discovery, and string theory gives a very concrete understanding of that. I'll just close by saying a little bit about India and string theory. Perhaps maybe you are not aware, but in a way it's probably fair to say that outside the United States, perhaps the single most influential community of string theorists worldwide are in India. And some of the So people are, I mean, it's a large community of a number of very brilliant people, many of them from IIT Kanpur, in fact. So IIT Kanpur. When I tell my colleagues abroad, they say, wow, all these people, all of you guys are from IIT Kanpur? When is this Kanpur? So anyway, so IIT Kanpur is up there in the map. And it's pushing the frontiers of the subject and in the connections to cosmology, black holes, solid-state physics, mathematics. String theory is a very rich subject, and I wish I could tell you more about it, but it's sort of able to connect to a number of other allied disciplines and provide new insights. And the community in India has been pushing this frontier, and which is why it gives a special thrill to be part of that, and sort of a sense of pioneering and creating knowledge from within India and in Indian institutions. Finally, I just want to mention a person whom is perhaps the most remarkable human being I've encountered or I've met. Is a person called Ashok Sen, who was my colleague at Allahabad for the last 14 years. He is one of the most influential string theorists in the world, and it's a name I think every Indian should know. Very unfortunately, many people don't, because he's an extremely modest person, and he's a remarkable human being in addition to being a remarkable physicist. But I just thought, for the younger generation, if you want to have a role model, I think there are people like Ashok Sen working in India, in Allahabad, in a small little institute by the Ganga, and creating knowledge right there at the world level. So thank you very much.
How many people were thinking of JKB and SKB while Gopal was talking about that? Thanks, Gopal. So we are struggling with time, as you can understand. Every time Governor stands up, you can just correlate that we are struggling with time. And we also wanted to weave in Nirmal's talk in this. So we'll try to really speed up here. So please help us out.
MC.
Good luck, it's good luck.
No, that's my own
The talk of Maharaj was, he was discussing what we see as a bigger picture. What is the unit? What is the source of numbers? What is the source of geometry? And even Rajesh, what he was talking about, what are the fundamental particles? What is the source of the entire world? Now, this is the science is what science talks about is how the world functions. Understanding the matter is science. But who is the person who sees the matter? Who is the seer? Who is the what is the drishya is science, and who is the drishta is spirituality. Understanding our nature, the person who is perceiving this entire universe is what spirituality talks about. Who am I? Who am I is the question which spirituality is addressing, and Namanishta Das ji, he is addressing this question as a science. So do not, please do not, the Advait Gyan does not talk about two. It talks about everything is one. Even in Vedas it is said that if you really try to understand a particle, even one subject, if you go to it in very deep, you will come to know that all is one. So Namanishta Das ji, he has been a pioneer and he's been trying to understand the nature of the self. So I would request Namaji, Nirmal ji to make us understand who am I. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. About memories, you know, my memory is very less. I remember the day, actually, there were German devotees that come from ISKCON, and we are having a guest house. They were doing some kirtan. I bought a bag of prizes. That's how I give classes in colleges. People ask a question, I give a prize. That's a people keep coming. I have my book which I wrote, small book for colleges. Anyway, so I remember my wingmates were there, some of them, I don't know who remembers it. They were shaking their shirt, they took their shirt out, took me out of the group. They wanted to have some kirtan, I knew some tabla, so I was giving them company. And I chose to stay with them, and my life changed. Okay, now this is a short class, which I call, in every school I take it, and any college I take it. So it is understandable. I think children are objective, they didn't understand. This they can understand. It's very easy. The first two lines you'll agree, third one, I know very few people will agree. Human intellect is developed for advancement of learning in art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, mechanical, engineering, etc., etc. By culture of such knowledge, the human society can attain perfection of life. We see that perfection. Somebody became a big scientist, perfection. Okay? I agree to that. But last line is a surprise here. This perfection of life culminates in the realization of the Supreme Being. This is, I'll try to give input to this. Okay? 15 minutes, I'll try this. Be responsible. I continuously ask questions. I don't teach. I know how horrible it was when I was taught. Never happened. Hey. It's divided in a different way. Can you hear me? No, yes, sir. It's going like a period. Okay, this is IQ, EQ, SQ, some blah blah definition, forget it. The more the intelligent person, I'll ask you questions on IQ, then EQ, then SQ, you'll understand what I'm doing. In fact, I began when in '93 I joined ISKCON Bangalore. If you have seen that big monument, small humble contribution as part of that, putting it up in terms of designing different things, conceptual designing. I was not an architect. And then after that, I went to Bangalore to teach, and I got, by God's grace, credit courses at various colleges like NITK, Manipal. So, path is made by walking. So slowly I learned how to teach such value courses. Okay, what's the answer is also. Okay, can you see the question? What's the difference between a cow and a baby? Who knows the answer?
The cow gives milk and the baby takes milk.
Yeah, the price. I thought the children would have responded faster. Cow drinks water, makes milk, is answer 50%, baby drinks milk and makes milk. How do you drop a rock into concrete floor without cracking?
Boil it.
No. Yeah. Come. Yeah, this is a book which I wrote. This book became the textbook in colleges for values. I don't know why they made it, but they needed some book. They said not Gita. So the colleges are sensitive, so I had to write something on this. What cracking what? So basically, this gives you idea. There can be many like this. This is the idea of IQ. IQ means your skills. Engineers learn how to cut skin and engineers learn how to cut iron and cut wood. Doctors learn how to cut skin and cut bone. And dentists how to cut teeth. Hotel management how to cut vegetable. Some skill. And that is why the science and spirituality. In science, what happens? Everything we want down to an equation. And I feel we are chaining ourselves at that moment. Who asked you to assume such a thing? That everything law has to come to an equation. It's an axiom. And I feel till that science will limit itself to that, it's chaining itself. Therefore, science and spirituality is not able to come together. They have success, able to create some comforts, but as for a search for truth, I wish science opens itself. Consciousness will not, and it is not limited to equations. Therefore, science presently is science study of matter. That's it. Because it is by very definition, by axioms of science, science says we will study what comes out of inside an equation, full stop. Therefore, science and spirituality differs. We study even consciousness. We also study matter. We also study God. We study three things. As scientists say, we studied only matter. Because we have made an axiom, fundamental laws should be so simple, it should come in an equation. Now, it's a limitation for science. Therefore, science, spirituality differs. This will not work. Now Gopakumar is digesting that. I'll keep throwing things at him. I ordered a debate actually, but there was no time. Next is emotional quotient. This is slightly better. We be a good engineer, all of us wanted to be. At the same time, if we can do something good for the society. Okay? So this is second component of it. So this deals with, I think I cannot remember the video in this. Somehow it is playing it like a PDF, some mistake. With 1990s, psychologists said EQ is equally important because if you land up like this in your profession, you can't do anything. Okay, so this has been understood. Positive, optimistic attitude, a person of IQ 100 is the most successful, negative, pessimistic person IQ 120. Okay? So you need good EQ. To effectively apply your IQ, you need good EQ. So EQ came into being. These are all terms of science. I'm just using it because it breaks ice with you. Then what I do in the college is actually, then I throw to students these ethical dilemmas. And when they try to solve them, they make videos. One team makes one side, one team makes against. And then trying to get an answer, they try to come to spirituality. Like Arjuna also had a dilemma. To solve that, spirituality came. Just to solve an engineering equation, you don't need spirituality. You don't need it. But there are some dilemmas like this is euthanasia, capital punishment, cloning, animal experimentation. So many dilemmas will start us thinking deeper. And these are all the dilemmas in this. Okay? And the last one being generation gap. Generally, students stop at that, but with you, I can share something more about SQ. Okay? In the colleges, it's a credit course, so I have to be very careful. It's like walking a tightrope. I can't open up. Now the science concern, the full picture comes with SQ. It's like a dark room for them, which is the ultimate intelligence, and only we have it. Machines have IQ, they can add numbers without making mistakes. Animals have IQ and EQ. Not only they can, animals can do some tasks, but they have affection. Okay? But SQ only we have. Now the question is, suppose I am driving a car. What's my IQ, EQ, SQ? I'll give the first two answers. IQ means how to drive the car. EQ means don't hit other cars. What is SQ? Huh? That's IQ. Only human beings have SQ. Please make a point. You have to prove you are a human being.
Where are you going?
Yes. Yeah, that's SQ.
No, I think it was the other way around. If you hit someone, don't get caught.
It's a gift to Pranav from me. He was the one who got me the first A grade in first year, computer science. Because of him, I got a grade. And the last second grade, which I only got, was because of Jubilee. I remember the day I was standing, there was a project, assessment, and I didn't know anything what is this project about. That happens in a team. SQ allows us to be creative, asks fundamental question. Now let us enter SQ. First part of spirituality, if many of you yesterday were meeting me, first thing is control your mind. We can't begin spirituality without controlling mind. Therefore, even though it is nothing spiritual about it, it's matter. Controlling your mind is nothing spiritual. But this will pave way. Just like the sir was saying, so many people, cleanliness is next to godliness. So just like a tank is very dirty, you can't see anything. So therefore, any spiritual path, so many people are taking it. First thing they teach you how to control the mind, correct? Otherwise, you can't understand things. Godas and Goswami, this video is about. This is all different models we have for controlling the mind and senses. This is a class of mind control. Yeah. Suppose there is a scientist and he analyzes our body. Many of you are top scientists today. And our body is made of iron to make 6 things, some carbon, some sugar, potassium. And the total value of all these things comes out to be 210. Now take an example, one of our classmates was coming here, okay? And some of you may own a Mercedes Benz, and God forbid, he had an accident. And what happened? Car is burned and he died. What do you feel sad for? Now, Tanuj, what you brought the question, I'm starting there. This is the beginning of spirituality. You feel sad for the car or the friend? Both are gone. Car is burned, the friend died. Yeah. Why?
Because you can't replace it.
Yeah, so what is the friend? I tell you something very intuitive. Suppose I say, what is this? I say, this is my mic. I don't say I mic. I can remove the mic and I stay. Same way I say my leg and never say I leg. Okay? You can understand intuitively? I say my hand, you can remove the hand, but I remain. I say my head, you can remove the head, I remain. So what is I? That I. Okay, this we all know as soul. Now the video will not work, but I'll just explain. Generally many people will say, can you show it? But even within science, just like he was talking about the huge, what do you call it? Cyclotron, where you throw the particle. Correct. Nice to see, such a huge one. When you throw things on that, you're not seeing the particle. Like Higgs boson, they said by 99.999 certain percentage are sure, correct? But we know it by effect it produces, any particle. So certain way, same way, certain things in world are in the domain of my experience. Certain things are what is called inferential knowledge. Okay, I have not seen it, but I infer by the effect it is producing. The same way, the soul can be taken in the beginning as a matter of inferential knowledge. Okay. In the Science magazine itself, 2005, this is, I say, the way, there are scientists at different cadres. Many scientists are very genuine and wonderful. Some, they don't know things actually. He says something very, very interesting. The Science magazine, you can look at this. July 2005. 125 questions science does not know. And one of the things is, it agrees, we don't know what it's like. So when you have Gita talking about consciousness and science saying we don't know what is consciousness, what is the hesitation to pick up and read? I tell you how I started. I was a very big atheist, not atheist, preaching atheist. And some people are passive, just like many people are non-practicing Hindus, non-practicing Muslims, many parts, they define themselves. I am Muslim, but I'm non-practicing Muslim. I am a Hindu, but I'm non-practicing Hindu. Many people say that. The same way, I was not a non-practicing atheist, I was a preaching atheist. But what happened was, I met a devotee who came here, and I was shocked. He was in distress, and he gave a class, Can Machines Think? And I think those people on the science line, because I don't know science, honestly telling. If you meet him, it will be very fantastic. He is a very leading scientist, Ravi Gomatam. He has, so anyway, you can interact with him. So he has a lot of work on this. Now this can begin with the consciousness. We can admittedly find nothing in physics or chemistry that even has a remote bearing on consciousness. This is for Neil Bohr. Yet all of us know there is such a thing as consciousness because we have it ourselves. So hence consciousness are part of nature or more general of reality. This is a very big subject, but it's reality because actually we live in a phenomenal world. You are living in a world of experience. You don't know what's the reality behind. So it said must be part of reality, which means quite apart from the laws of physics and chemistry as laid down in quantum theory. He is one of the first people in quantum. We must also consider laws of quite a different nature. Okay? So you see there is a lot of impetus from science. And here is Schrodinger is saying we have to have blood transfusion of Eastern thought. Most of the scientists, I have hundreds of quotes, who talked about presence of consciousness separate from matter, could not proceed. Because the reason is the Western science is based on a foundation of philosophy which doesn't have soul in it. How do you proceed? So he requested something which I feel should happen. Science and spirituality should come together because blood transfusion of Eastern thought basically meant the Vedic science. You understood the point? We all use Schrodinger equations like in quantum. Quantum mechanics works, but the quantum theory level is a big puzzle, 200 years of quantum theory. Okay, so I feel is that science and spirituality comes together, that will create a wonderful new world. Because science is dealing only with matter. Spirituality deals with us, the self and the God. Okay? If it comes together, it will be very wonderful. Today what happens is that generally we have thought study of matter is everything, but the result is that the people are not happy. Even in the places where you're all abroad, if the matter was us, then we should have been very happy, but it is not. Albert Einstein, we should also go into studies, so this goes into so many courses. ISKCON has set up an institute called Bhaktivedanta Institute, the same Ravi Gomatam had said. They have MS and PhD in consciousness, coming from BITS Pilani. Okay, comes to the what are the 4 things common between me and an animal? Yeah, that's for the children, so you can see. Eating. 4 things common. Yeah. Try. Next one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, eating. Now when I'm eating, suppose, and a tiger is eating in a forest, can you say that the tiger is enjoying less? He is not worried about job. And then you are sleeping and a cow is sleeping. Can you say you are enjoying more than the cow? We have our arrangement, they have their arrangement. And we have missiles, and if Pakistan comes, we are ready. An animal says, I have horns, come. So in what way can you say we are enjoying? Remember when we had a lot of monkeys outside our library? Sometimes, some of them got bitten also, remember? Now, if you say, I enjoyed my 4 years in IIT campus, a monkey says, I did better than you. So this is where we say the human life should be better. Now, this is very funny. The goat is eating grass, and the goat is feeling very happy. Okay? But any moment it will cut and hung there. So the question is, we are also in the same situation. Any moment our life will interrupt. We somehow take our present life as all in all. And you know, they call Shamshan Viragya. Some death occurs in family. Like, unfortunately, all of us are seeing our parents crossing 70s in a dangerous area. And that time we think about some philosophy. But actually, who am I? What is my life? Does God exist? Should be a constant question. Take it, but we get lost like the goat. Today is a great grass. This one. Hey, why it is that the videos don't work? It's converted PPT to a PDF. The last one. Now suppose you see a car. We know some company has made it. Okay? We don't assume there was a nuclear explosion and or say volcanic explosion by nature, rain and wind and car came into being. Similarly, we have a new Apple. We always assume there is a new version, design. The question is very obvious. We see every design, we see a designer. Okay? Including even in paleontology, when you dig below the earth, they call something design inference. You know, they call it design inference. They have a system by which they can say, yes, this is a design. This does not come by an accident. Even a stone chiseled in a particular way, they said, yes, there was a civilization here. Because, you know, millions of years, nothing will remain. The whole body is, organic matter is gone. Only what remains is artifacts. By that, they conclude there was a civilization. But when we see in front of us so much design, how do we say there is no creator? Because that brings us to God. If you study that, what am I, that brings you to consciousness of the soul. And when you see elaborate design in this world, that brings us to consciousness. It's a design or it's an accident? It came by design or accidentally it happened?
It could be something else as well.
How can it be something else? Either something is designed or it comes by an accident. What is third?
Rubber brake.
Okay? So this brings to the second important point of this is about the brain, human brain, how this brain has come into being. So this was a nice video of Einstein. This is Einstein, is a perfect brain. In fact, he was always an atheist, but only after the Holocaust he became against organized religion. This is why science and spirituality can come together. Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. Okay? This makes it. You see that it says, I believe in God. It was a big vague. This is Louis' question. Little science he takes you away from God, more takes you to Him. This plank, religion, God is at the beginning. If you think strongly enough, you'll be forced by science. Because they're all founders of science. You know, all the founders of science, 90% accepted God. Newton. This is a recent person, Werber. He says, when I see inside a cell, macromolecules, which are like, nano machines, only the possibility existence of a creator represents a satisfactory solution. So this is also very recent. This is the human genome study. He said we have 3.1 billion letter instruction inside every cell, and we have how many? 100 trillion of the cells. He says, when I look at that, I can't help but look at those pages and have a vague sense, this is giving me a glimpse of God's. So this is the area of SQ. What is real success? Does God exist? Benefits of SQ. And it makes you very thoughtful, very reflective, you're happy, you can live a balanced life. You don't get disturbed by small things. And before you want to lead others, lead yourself. Okay? I hope you got a brief idea what study of. It's a big field to study. For me, the ice broke when I heard can machines think. It's if you want, you can. He has a paper already, beautiful paper, which is presents around the world. And I got shaken up. I said, yes, machines can't think, but I'm thinking. Then I asked him this question. I'm thinking. What am I? For that is a read Gita. Then I started reading Gita. I got my answer, and then things went on. Okay, thanks a lot for hearing me.
Thank you so much. Guys, since it's getting late, I think let us take a break. Just a couple of quick things. First of all, a lot of you guys are taking pictures. So if you can please go back to the Google Drive that I had shared with you earlier for the yearbook creation and just upload your photos back in your folders, respective folders. You will all get access to all the pictures that you're taking. So please do that. Secondly, if you want to buy additional copies of the yearbook, you can do so at the control room. I think that's about 2,000 rupees each. So you can buy additional copies. We have some extra copies if you want. They also told me that the group photo that was taken, that has already been put inside a photo frame. So that's available at the control room as well. And some of you probably haven't picked up your t-shirts, which are also available in the control room. So those are just quick announcements. Let's take a break. And one more announcement.
Hi, I'm Alok Jain, and in USA I have a quick announcement for the kids who are in India. So basically what I'm doing there is coaching the kids in robotics competition, and we would like to start teams in India. So if you want more information, feel free to contact me. My contact is in the book, the coffee table book, Alok Jain. So just contact me if you're interested. We are really interested in starting some teams for the robotics competition. It's known as the first Jubilee competition.
Notice,